A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's go.
Let's go. Firefighters. Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a minute, we'll hear Tim Collins give his answer to Chief Cody. Tim's decision as to whether or not he'll swallow his ambition and postpone his transfer to the rescue company for the good of the department. But first, you'll want to hear this message. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to the office of Chief Cody at Fire Department Headquarters, where you remember the Chief has put a difficult decision up to Tim Collins. Only a moment ago, Chief Cody admitted.
Collins, you got me over a barrel. You're right, I did say I'd approve your request for a transfer to any division of the fire department.
Well, then what's the problem, Chief Cody? I've had the experience. You said you'd approve my application. I've told you I want to transfer to the rescue company, and well, what's the problem?
My goodness, Timmy, I guess it's me. I'm the problem.
Well, that seems to be the crux of it, Collins. Miss Greville has a fire prevention pageant she wants to put on, but the brigade wants to stage Trudy's play.
My fire prevention play, Tim. All about how the city almost burned down years ago and about a nasty arsonist going around setting fires.
Well, you can see why the kids prefer Trudy's play, Collins. But the upshot will be that we'll have no fire prevention program at Northside at all, and the department needs it.
Well, yes, sir, but Chief Cody, doesn't the Bureau of Fire Prevention figure in that? Ever since we started the brigade, the Bureau has backed up the kids all the way.
Well, I did have in mind a man who could straighten out this tangle, Collins, who could get Miss Greville and Trudy and the kids together so the whole project wouldn't go up in smoke.
Oh, and all the guests invited, too, and even the mayor said he was coming.
If that play blows up, it's going to be a black eye for the school, the brigade, and the fire department.
Yes, don't I know it? Oh, hang it. I thought I had just the man who could step in and put it across.
Well, that's all you need, Chief Cody. One man to help them whip their program into shape.
Yes, but the man I wanted slipped right through my fingers.
Well, can't you talk to him, Chief? Make him see how important this is?
I tried to, son. I tried to persuade him to take a tour of special duty with the Bureau of Fire Prevention before he transfers to the rescue company.
Well, good grief. Doesn't he see that a week or two doesn't make that much difference when... Hey.
Oh, Tim, he's talking about you.
He is. He means me.
Oh, Timmy, please. Oh, Chief Cody, can't you make him?
Not unless he decides for himself, Trudy. I promised him his choice when he asked for a transfer.
Oh, Chief, good grief, what choice have I?
Will you take this assignment, Collins, of your own free will?
Well, sir, when it's for the good of the department, you bet I will.
All right, Private Collins, you're temporarily attached to the Bureau of Fire Prevention. Now go on out to Northside School and put on a fire prevention play that will do the department some good.
The next day, Tim Collins, now a member of the Fire Prevention Bureau, calls on Miss Greville, director of play production at the great modern Northside School. As he knocks on the door of her office, he wonders, will he find her so stubborn that the fire prevention play must fail?
Come in. It isn't locked.
Miss Greville, I'm Private Tim Collins of the Fire Prevention Bureau. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, you're a fireman. Come in and... Oh, let me move these papers off the chair.
Oh, don't bother. I can... Here, let me...
Oh, my head.
Good grief, I'm a clumsy ox. Bumping heads with a lady even before I'm introduced.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It was my fault. It doesn't hurt anyway.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. Here, why don't you bang me over the skull with a book or something so we'll be even?
No, you can owe me one free whack. Don't think I won't collect.
Well, that's a bargain. Now, don't forget. It's lucky Miss Gribble didn't walk in and find us banging our heads together. I don't think...
but I'm Miss Gribble, Mr. Collins. Chief Cody said that...
You?
Yeah.
Oh, a student teacher training with your sister? She's the one I'm supposed to see, the Miss Gribble in charge of plays and stuff.
Oh, but that's me. I'm she. I haven't any sisters. Chief Cody phoned that you were coming to see me.
Why, are you sure? Well, gosh, I thought Miss Gribble was much older.
Is that my fault, Mr. Collins?
Oh, no, but things like that didn't happen when I was a student here.
Oh, I'm sorry if you find Northside School is changed for the worse.
Oh, no, ma'am. I find the old school much improved. In fact,
Excuse me.
Yes, Mr. Collins?
Somebody just came in. Oh, hi, Trudy. What do you want? What are you doing here?
Oh, my goodness, it's my school, isn't it? Where else would I be this time of day? And besides, Miss Gribble sent for me.
Oh, yes, Trudy. Mr. Collins, when Chief Cody phoned that you were coming...
But if I'm interrupting something, I can wait outside.
Certainly not, Trudy. Sit down.
Yes, you sit right down. We're all here to
talk about the fire prevention play for a week from yesterday.
Oh, yes, the play. That's what we're here for. And, well, the play. Now, what about it?
Well, my feeling is that the best way to present the case for fire prevention is through a pageant. Mm-hmm. But there seems to be some opposition. In fact, a tremendous amount of opposition.
Oh, my goodness, Miss Gribble. The Firefighters Brigade, we don't want to be mean or uncooperational, but...
But you kids have sold yourselves on the idea of a regular play instead of a pageant. Something of everything from the burning of Rome right up to date.
Well, yes, that's it. We'd rather have a play.
And I don't want to be high-handed, Mr. Collins. I do truly want to cooperate with the children, but... You see, I represent the best interests of Northside School.
Somehow I've got to represent the Firefighters Brigade.
And between you, it looks as if there won't be any program at all. And for the best interests of the Fire Prevention Bureau, which I represent, that's bad.
Well, since we just can't seem to get together, Mr. Collins...
Well, what's that, an alarm?
Now, Mr. Collins, surely it isn't so long since you graduated that you don't recognize that bell.
Don't run for the fire hose, Tim. It's only the passing bell.
Oh, sure. Oh, hey, where's everybody going?
I have an auditorium class.
I've got home.
We haven't settled anything.
Well, how can we when we're deadlocked?
Nobody's mad at anybody, but we just can't agree.
So we'll have to give up the whole thing.
No, wait. Here, I'll shut the door so I can hear myself think.
Mr. Collins, you'll make us late for class.
My goodness, Miss Lamini will just simply devour me if I'm late.
Ladies, the fire department is in charge. You'll have to listen just for 1 second unless you climb out the window and get to class that way.
Mr. Collins, stand away from that door.
Not until you hear me, Miss Gribble. That pageant of yours, it's good.
Will you let us go when Chief Cody hears... Huh? Oh, you read my pageant?
Trudy and Jimmy told me all about it. And it's good because you've written into it every point of fire prevention Chief Cody wants to get across.
Oh, Timmy, I thought you liked my play.
I do, Trudy. Because that play has action, life, real people talking, so the audience would listen to catch every word.
Mr. Collins, either you like everything... Well, you can't decide what you like.
I'll tell you what I would like, Miss Gribble, and what Chief Cody would like, too. A play with real people in it like Trudy's to put across all the points of fire prevention like yours.
Oh, my goodness, then we need some more writers and a whole new play, and there's only a week to go.
Well, why don't you girls, you ladies, why don't you get together, make one good play out of what you both have now?
Why, that's possible, but No, I don't like your methods, Mr. Collins.
I certainly won't if Miss Gribble won't. Us ladies stand together.
Well, then I've let Chief Cody down. He's the one that loses most, because I've failed on this assignment.
Oh, no. If it were for Chief Cody...
You hadn't practically kidnapped us, Tim Collins.
You know what the chief thinks of his fire prevention campaign. I just did what I did, hoping you'd see it from his side if I kept you here long enough to... Well, there, the door's open. You can go to your classes now. I'm sorry I kept you.
Well, if Miss Gribble would. Only for Chief Cody, though, and I'm going to tell Mom what you did. You see if I don't, Timmy Collins.
Oh, now, Trudy, your brother was only trying to... Well, Trudy, we could try it. For Chief Cody?
After school this afternoon, shall we, Miss Gribble?
You be here in my office as soon as you can after dismissal. Now run along, dear.
Oh, yes, Miss Greville. Oh, my goodness, I'm late as late.
Well, I'll tell Miss Lamony you were delayed for good reason.
Oh, thank you, Miss Greville.
Maybe I could tell the principal you were late for good reason. Would that help, Miss Greville?
Don't bother to do me any favors, Mr. Collins. I'm quite able to take care of myself.
And soon afterward, as Tim Collins reports to Chief Cody at headquarters, the young fireman confesses.
Oh, I've got myself in a jam, Chief. Both Trudy and Miss Greville are mad at me now.
But the play, Collins, they're going on with that plan.
Well, for your sake, Chief, they're going to write a fire prevention play between them.
Good. We need that publicity for the campaign.
Oh, we'll get it, sir, but good grief, I'm in for a bad week.
Well, why don't you keep away from the school then, Collins? As long as they've decided to work together, why not drop out of sight? Huh?
Oh, that wouldn't be fair, Chief Cody.
Sounds like good judgment to me.
Oh, no, sir. You see, first thing in Miss Greville's office, I bumped her head with mine.
What?
You know, clearing things off a chair, both stooping together.
She has my sympathy. Those Collins heads are hard as rock.
Oh, yes, sir. But she's entitled to one free swing at my skull with a book. And in fairness, I should be around when she decides it's time to collect.
Well, Tim Collins has succeeded in getting Miss Greville and Trudy to cooperate for the sake of the fire prevention program. But what kind of a play will they turn out? For the Firefighters Brigade performance, just as it is presented in the auditorium at Northside School, listen to our next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell you, boys and girls, how you can help the firefighters in your own town. But first, here's a message you ought to hear. And now, Chief Bob Cody with a special notice for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Hello, boys and girls. This is Chief Cody. Do you know how many jobs there are in a modern fire department? Well, there's the truck man, the member of a hook and ladder company. Now, his job is to ventilate a burning building, search for living creatures in need of rescue, and afterward, overhaul the ruins to prevent a new outbreak of flame. Well, next time I'll tell you about another job. So long for now.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear...
That's it. Let's go! Let's go! Firefighters!
The story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A dozen churches in your city are victimized by a team of experienced safe burglars. You track the suspects for weeks. You finally apprehend 3 men. Your job? Convict them. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Sunday, March 5th. It was cloudy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Wisdom. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the record bureau, and it was 11:30 p.m. when I got to room 25A, the interrogation room. Excuse me, Ben?
Yeah, Joe?
Got a minute?
Yeah, sure. Wait here, Bryson. Back in a minute. All right.
Yeah? Let's go out in the hall. How you doing with Bryson? Did he tell you anything?
No, he won't never say. How about the other 2 men?
No, nothing. They're sitting tight, waiting for their lawyer to show up. Had all 3 of them checked through R&I. Bryson's a 2-time loser, burglary, GTA. His 2 partners served time for robbery.
We shouldn't have too much trouble putting them away. We got a good enough collection of physical evidence.
Well, maybe.
Heard from the crime lab yet?
No, not yet. I'd feel a lot better about it if we'd get Bryson to cop out.
Let's call him again, huh?
Yeah, might as well. Nothing to lose. Go ahead.
Keep your seat, Bryson. Got a few more questions for you.
Excuse me.
I thought you had it all squared away by now.
Thought you were going to say I could leave by now.
No, afraid not, Bryson. You haven't even given us a story yet.
Well, I told you I didn't have anything to do with it. It seems pretty obvious I did, and I thought you'd take my word for it.
Can you think of any reason why we should? You lied to us once already, didn't you?
I didn't lie to you. I told you the truth. I didn't break into that church. I didn't have anything to do with it.
On the way in here, we asked you if you'd ever been arrested before, and you told us no. Our record bureau says you're a two-time loser.
Oh, well, I'm sorry about that, Sergeant. I really am. When you picked me up, I guess I got a little nervous. I didn't mean to lie to you. I was just a little mixed up, I guess.
You had a little time to settle down. You ought to be able to tell us your story now. Just relax and take your time, huh?
Martin? Well, what did the other two fellas tell you, Miller and Henderson?
Well, what difference did that make to you?
Well, it might make a lot of difference, Sergeant.
Well, you just tell us your story. That's all we ask. What were you doing at the scene of the burglary? What business did you have there? If you weren't mixed up in it, you got nothing to hide.
I haven't got anything to hide. I just don't want to involve a lot of innocent people, that's all.
Anything you tell us is going to help you. You know that. Now, how about it?
All right, Sergeant. Strictly confidential, huh? Well, one of those other fellows you picked up tonight, the dark-haired fella, his name's Miller. Tony Miller. He's engaged to marry my sister.
Yeah, well, what's that got to do with it?
Now, please, give me a chance.
All right.
I'd like to lay it all out for you.
Go ahead.
Well, ever since my sister got engaged to Miller, I've been worried about it. I never liked him to begin with. Lately, I've been keeping an eye on Miller, him and that friend of his, Henderson.
Yeah?
I knew they were up to something, and then I read in the paper about that string of church burglaries, that guys breaking into churches, nothing to say.
Yeah.
Well, I had an idea it was Miller and his friend.
How do you mean, Bryson? What made you think it was him?
I had an idea, that's all. I couldn't prove anything. It was just a hunch.
You must have had some reason to suspect him.
Nothing definite, no. I just knew something was wrong, that they were up to something. Well, then, early that night, I saw a friend of Tony Miller. They were on the bars in the neighborhood. I talked to him a while, and he finally told me that Miller and Henderson were out working a deal. Said they were going to break into a church over on 8th Street and knock over the safe.
Well, how come this friend of Miller's let you in on it?
Well, I guess he thought I was a pretty close friend of Tony's. He knew Tony was going to marry my sister. Anyway, when I found out about it, I got over to that church as fast as I could. I wanted to find Miller and Henderson and try and talk them out of it. I didn't want any guy who was going to marry my sister getting into trouble like that. Maybe going to jail for burglary.
No, Miller's been in jail before. I suppose you knew that.
Yeah, I knew it, but that was before he was engaged to my sister.
You met Miller and Henderson outside the church, did you?
No, I was too late. They'd already broken into the place. So I went around the back of the church, and I saw one of the stained glass windows was broken where they'd gotten in. I climbed up on the sill there, and I could see them working inside. It was some kind of a small back room. They were working on the safe, both of them, Miller and Henderson.
That's so. What'd you do then?
Well, I tried to talk them out of it. They wouldn't listen.
Mm-hmm. I suppose you can prove your story. I mean, that friend you met in the bar, the one who tipped you off about the burger, I guess he'd be willing to back up your story.
Well, I'm not sure, Sergeant. He might lie. He might not want to get involved.
How about Miller and Henderson? They'll back it up, won't they? If you weren't involved in the deal, there wouldn't be any reason for them to implicate you, would
Well, Tony Miller thinks it's my fault he's in jail. He hates me. You can't take his word for anything. Probably the first thing he'd do is lie about it, and Henderson, too.
Well, who you got to corroborate your story?
Well, maybe nobody, but it's the truth. I swear to you it's the truth. I'll tell the same thing in court if I have to. They got to believe me.
You're asking a lot, Matthew.
That's the way it happened, so help me.
Yeah.
Now, tell me the truth, Sergeant. You know I didn't have a hand in it. If it goes to court, they couldn't convict me, could they? Come on, what do you think?
I think you're a liar. To the working detective, the one logical way to appraise a known criminal is by his record. You estimate him the same way you check a particular make of automobile, a racehorse, or a radio set, by past performance. By refusing to buy his trumped-up story, we didn't figure that we were doing the suspect, Charles Bryson, an injustice. Bryson was 37 years old. He'd spent 13 of those 37 years in prison, either the county jail or the state penitentiary. His criminal record dated back to the time he was 20 years old. Besides serving numerous shorter terms for lesser offenses in the county jail, Bryson had spent 2 terms in the state penitentiary for burglary. Despite the efforts of the probation officers, the adult authority, and the rehabilitation officials to help him, he seemed content to go along in his criminal career. In this particular case, the series of church burglaries, we had good reason to believe that Bryson and his 2 accomplices, Miller and Henderson, were the guilty men. All 3 of them were booked at the main jail on suspicion of 459 PC. The next morning, Ben and I checked in at the crime lab.
Lee Jones, you around?
Yeah, I'm here. Come on back.
Oh, how about that? They gave the place a new coat of paint.
Yeah, sure needed it.
Good morning, fellas.
How you doing, Lee?
That set of burglary tools those thieves were using in that church last night. Just finished checking them over. Might have 2 or 3 things for you.
What do you got, Lee?
Have a look over here. You fine set of tools. I take it the thieves had a lot of practice.
All 3 of them had records. How about some of the other physical evidence you got, Lee?
One thing at a time, Joe. First of all, these tools here. Small sledge, these 3 jimmy, pinch bar, and a screwdriver. I think we can tie them in with at least 6 of those church burglaries. I think we can do it for certain.
Good enough for 3 convictions?
I think so, if the jury's listening.
Well, how you got it worked out, Lee? Tool markings?
That's part of it, yeah. I want you to take a look at this pinch bar here. They did a lot of their work with this.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't have to tell you there aren't two identical pinch bars in the world that could leave the same exact markings on a piece of woodwork or on a safe.
Yeah.
There aren't a pair of tools in the world that leave the same markings on anything.
Yeah, we know, but can you show a jury positively that the thieves used this pinch bar here on 6 of the jobs they pulled?
That's the idea. I compared specimen markings of every one of these tools against the markings made at the point of entry on 6 of the churches these thieves broke into. In every case, the markings match perfectly. These are the tools that made them, no doubt about it. The screwdriver, the set of windows, and the pinch bar.
No, sure won't hurt our case any. Get anything else, mate?
I examined the end of the pinch bar under the microscope, checked the screwdriver and Jimmy's tool. The tips of each one of them are contaminated with particles of paint, different kinds of paint.
Mm-hmm.
I've already compared these paint transfers with samples of paint taken from the exterior of those churches that were broken into. Each one of them, they match all the way. The color of the paint, the age, degree of oxidation, the lead content, compares perfect. Now come over here, something else.
Mm-hmm. What you got there, huh?
These are the shoes the two men you found inside the church were wearing. These are the foot impressions the boys from Leighton Prince lifted off the floor in front of the safe inside the church.
Yeah, so...
The linoleum on that church floor showed up the dust impressions of the feet pretty good.
Did you make the prints?
The boys from Leighton Prince did, yeah. Good impressions. See here? General size of the shoe, the make, heel impressions, the wear pattern on the sole here, the whole general characteristics of both pair of shoes. Matches up to a T.
How much is that going to mean to a jury, Mike?
Well, I mean a lot. It's the truth. It's the same thing I've been telling you. It's the same thing. I'd like to tell every cop in the department, if you can place an object at the scene of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt, then don't go thrashing around looking for an object that's an exact duplicate. Don't play hawk show. Any microscope will tell you there are no two things in this world exactly identically alike. I don't care if it's a pair of shoes, a gun, a crowbar, or your two front teeth. And that's where it lines up for me. Think you're going to have trouble?
I don't know, Lee. We shouldn't have.
You got the three of them right at the scene of the crime. That ought to be enough for the court.
Yeah, I hope so.
You don't sound sure.
Well, Lee, there's only one time I'm sure about figures like Bryson.
Yeah?
When they check him in at San Quentin. 2 days later, Charles Bryson and his two accomplices, Henderson and Miller, were arraigned in municipal court on a date set for their preliminary hearing. 4 days later, the preliminary hearing was held, and the three of them were bound over for arraignment in Superior Court. In the weeks that followed, before their arraignment and Superior Court trial, Ben and I worked along with the district attorney's office preparing the case against the three men, taking statements, running down additional evidence, checking and rechecking, piecing together the facts which we hoped would earn a conviction for each of the criminals. We weren't positive that had happened. The strongest part of our case was going to come out of the crime lab, the testimony of Lee Jones. And we knew as well as Lee did that, generally speaking, juries are not too much in sympathy with scientific fact when it has to do with physical evidence. Generally, they don't follow technical cases too well. We also knew that the three defendants had a good lawyer, a clever one. Getting convictions wasn't going to be easy. The trial opened in Superior Court June 2nd. Ben and I testified when we were called on. On the morning of June 9th, the jury retired to deliberate. Late that afternoon, we got a call from the Hall of Justice.
Yes, Millie. Mm-hmm, yeah. Both of them, huh? I see, uh-huh. Well, that's life, I guess. Yes, jury's back, Joe. They came up with a verdict.
What's the story?
Henderson and Miller, they found them both guilty of first-degree burglary.
Yeah? What about Bryson?
They let him go.
Well, maybe it was no great shock to us, but after the time and effort we put in on the case, it was a disappointment. The worst of the three criminals had been set free. At the trial, Bryson had taken the stand and told the court the same cock and bull story he'd told Ben and I, that he'd gone to the church, the scene of the burglary, to plead with Henderson and Miller not to commit the crime. Bryson had a good personality and a fast line of talk. It wasn't hard to see how he could convince a jury that he was only an innocent bystander. The biggest obstacle that stood in the way of convicting Bryson was that the prosecution, the district attorney, according to law, could not call to the attention of the jury Bryson's previous criminal record, especially his two prior convictions for burglary. To them, because of the limitations of the law, he was presented as a private citizen with as much integrity and as clean of any previous guilt as you or your neighbor. Henderson and Miller were committed to the state penitentiary to serve sentences as prescribed by law, and Charles Bryson, shortly after the trial, left the city. 2 months passed. Saturday, August 8th, I started on my vacation. 2 weeks later, on August 22nd, I checked back in for work.
Hi, Joe. Good to see you.
Hi, Jim. What's been doing?
Oh, not too much. How'd the vacation go?
Well, pretty good, thanks. Mother and I went up north to visit some relatives up in Marin County. It was a nice trip for her. She hadn't been feeling too well, you know.
Oh, that's too bad. Get any fishing done?
A little, yeah.
That's sure beautiful country up there.
You been around?
No, I took off today.
Been putting in some full days while you've been gone. That's so? Anything special doing? Oh, nothing too big. String of chain store burglaries, south end of town. I've been working along with Ben. Yeah? Giving you much trouble? It's been going a couple of weeks. Not getting any better. We're beginning to feel the pressure a little. Well, how's it stand? Any leads on the suspect? Just one. Yeah? A guy by the name of Charles Bryson.
When our suspect, Charles Bryson, left Los Angeles after his trial some 3 months before, we had reports that he was headed east for the city of Memphis, Tennessee. In subsequent weeks, we had word that he was also seen in St. Louis, Missouri, where police officers had him under surveillance as a possible suspect in a robbery there. On or about August 10th, the St. Louis police lost track of Bryson. A week later, the newest series of burglaries began throughout Los Angeles. The thief's M.O. matched that of Bryson down to the last detail. The places burglarized were chain stores, supermarkets generally. The method of entry was the same, prying open a back window with a pinch bar or similar tool. The manner in which the safes were opened in the various business places, that matched too. So did 5 sets of foot impressions found at the scene of 5 different burglaries, each of them made by a man wearing tennis shoes. The operation corresponded exactly to the way Bryson worked. But there was one big hitch in the investigation. Nobody could be sure Bryson was back in town. No one had seen him. No one had heard from him. Monday, August 24th, 8 a.m.
Got us running in circles so far, Joe. I can't figure. I bet lunch money is Bryson, but we can't even start to prove it.
Well, how about the people in town Bryson runs with? They all been checked out?
The one we know about, yeah. His friends, relatives, always know him hang out. We've been over it every inch of the way. If anybody knows, they're not saying. There's no trace of them.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Maybe we're wrong. Go ahead.
What do you mean maybe we're wrong?
Well, the only lead we've got is the M.O. Bryson isn't the only thief who operates that way. It could be another man using the same system.
Yeah, we thought about that.
You ran a check through the stats office?
Yeah, The only known burglars in our records who operate like Bryson are either in jail or out of town or they're dead. We checked it through a couple of times. Keeps coming out the same way. Bryson's the only strong lead we got.
Yeah, but I got it. Burglary Friday. Yes, sir. You know, Sir Sergeant Tabor's out right now. Is there any message? Well, I guess about 10 minutes. Yes, sir. Right. I'll tell him. Thank you. You sure the M.O. on all these jobs matches Bryson, huh?
All the way. That's what's got me stumped. If the guy is pulling these jobs and he is in town, somebody should have spotted him. These chain stores he's hitting. We've had stakeouts on him for 10 days. I've got every informant we know watching for Bryson, and not a sign.
A minute ago, Jim said they'd call back. Oh, thanks. Get this teletype this morning. I've got nothing from San Quentin. Might be a line on Bryson.
Let me see.
An answer on that mail watch we're asking for. What angle's this, Ben?
You remember church burglaries, Miller and Henderson, 2 Lieutenant San Quentin?
Oh, yeah. You asked Clinton for a mail watch on both of them, did you?
Yeah, I figured there was a chance Bryson might write to him. Looks like it got us a lead.
Well, what have they got there?
Well, it's from the warden's office, and so it says, regarding your request on information concerning Charles Bryson, on August 22nd, Anthony Miller, our number 172156J, received letter from person signing himself George Cameron. Contents of letter suspicious.
Cameron. That mean anything to you? We just checked Bryson's package again down to R&I. Cameron was his mother's maiden name. Bryson's used it as an alias before, quite a few times. How about the return address on the letter, Ben? Los Angeles?
Main post office, general delivery.
Monday, 10 a.m. We alerted the post office detail and arranged for a mail watch on all incoming letters through general delivery addressed to Charles Bryson, George Cameron, or to another of the suspect's known aliases. A week passed. No sign of Bryson, no trace of any of his correspondence through general delivery. Another week went by. 2 more chain store burglaries. The M.O. in each case was the same. It matched closely to Bryson's known working habits. But despite our precautions and the close check we maintained on his friends and his known hangouts, the suspect still remained unseen and unheard from. On September 9th, an informant of Ben's called us at the office and told us he thought he'd seen Bryson the night before.
Yeah, Matty, where was that? Yeah, right, we'll check it, thank you. Bye. Bryson's supposed to have been seen there from Mont and Beverly Boulevard last night, drinking in a bar up here.
You pretty sure it was Bryson?
He thinks so, yeah. Got the name of the place here. We can check with the bartender, see if he can identify Bryson's mugshot.
Right. I'll get my top coat, huh?
All right.
I get it. Burglary Friday. Yes, sir. When was that? Yeah, go ahead. I got it. Yes, sir, right away. Post office detail. Bryson called for a mail at the general delivery half an hour ago.
Where is he? They following?
280 Glenmore, apartment 6. He's there now.
listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
September 9th, Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. The burglary suspect, Charles Bryson, was placed under surveillance at the apartment where he'd gone immediately after calling for his mail at the general delivery window in the main post office. 3 teams of men were assigned the job of following Bryson alternately, 24 hours a day. We waited for a chance to get into his apartment and search it while it was empty, but it never occurred. Somebody was always there, either Bryson or a tall, dark-haired woman, his common-law wife. During the week that followed, the suspect was watched everywhere he went. He attempted no burglaries. On the 8th day, the stakeout was removed. 3 nights later, 2 burglaries were committed. Both jobs bore the marks of the suspect's M.O., but we couldn't prove a thing against him. We knew the setup we had was going nowhere. If we wanted to get Bryson red-handed, if we wanted a case against him that'd stand up in any court, we had to find a new approach. Lee Jones came up with an idea.
There's a jar of stuff right here. The technical name for it's anthracene. I guess you heard of it?
I think I've heard you mention the name, Lee. That's about all. Some kind of luminous powder, isn't it? It glows in the dark.
No, not exactly. Here, take a look at some. There, you see? Colorless, odorless, no smell at all to it. It's a coal-tar product. We call it crystalline hydrocarbon.
I see.
Now, here's the point of the thing. When you take this anthracene powder and rub it into the surface of an object, it's completely invisible with naked eye. You never know it's there. Here, let me show you.
How about my coat sleeves?
That'll do. Got the powder all over it. Some in your hand, too. Rub it in, like so. Now, can you see or feel any of the powder where I put it on?
No, nothing there.
Now, let me switch on this lamp here. This is an ultraviolet light. Now, watch when I turn it on your arm, where we rubbed on the powder.
Well, look at your hand, Joe. Like it's lighting up. Yeah, my coat sleeve, too. It's glowing. How about it? Will this stuff rub off, Lee?
Try it.
You're spreading it all over yourself, everything you touch. Yeah. Anything harmful in it, Lee?
No. Now, watch when I turn the lamp off. You see? Gone. Never even know you had it on. Only time it shows up is under ultraviolet light.
Well, does it stay on you indefinitely, Lee?
No, the maximum is generally about, say, 24 hours.
You guarantee it'll work, huh?
Well, all physics, Joe. Under the proper conditions, it's got to. It's just what I tell my classes up at the academy. Crooks and chorus girls have one thing in common.
Yeah?
They show up better when you put them under the right kind of light.
When we left Lee Jones at the crime lab, we figured we had the potential solution in our hands, but there was still a lot to be done before we could go into any court of law with a case that we were positive was strong enough to convict Charles Bryson. Number 1, we had to get into his apartment when it was unoccupied, find the set of burglary tools he was using, and douse them thoroughly with anthracene. The same for the clothes he worked in. Number 2, we had to get Bryson into custody within 24 hours after he moved on a burglary job, or the anthracene wouldn't work. Number 3, we had to find the loot taken in the burglary in his possession. 10 days passed before we got a chance to make good on the first step.
I'll get it, Joe. Right. Burglar, Merrill. Yeah, Jim. Good. Fine, we'll be right out. Good break, Joe. And Bryson.
What's that?
They hold him in on a traffic warrant, speeding. Put him into the main jail right now. Good chance to go through his apartment.
What about his wife? She's still up there, isn't she?
She's on her way to put up bail for him.
Yeah?
Apartment's empty.
By the time Bryson was bailed out, Ben and I, along with Jim Tabor and Lee Jones, had combed through Bryson's apartment and finally uncovered a set of burglary tools and work clothes carefully hidden beneath the floorboards under a kitchen cabinet directly below the sink. Lee Jones contaminated each of the tools with the invisible anthracene powder and also the work clothes. We checked the apartment for any possible loot taken in the burglaries, but we found nothing. We put everything back exactly the way we found it, and then we left and went back to the office. We stood by until 4 a.m. waiting for a call that would indicate that Bryson might be out on another burglary job. Nothing happened. The next night, up until 10 o'clock, it was the same routine. At a few minutes past 10, we got a 459 call on a chain drugstore out on Alvarado Street. Lee Jones had his portable ultraviolet light all ready to go. Ben and I picked him up at the crime lab, and the 3 of us drove to the scene of the burglary.
Straight back here, Lee. Can I help you with the light?
I can handle it, thanks.
There's the window they figure he got in. Safe's there in the corner.
Yeah, there's not too much of it left. You all set, Lee?
You got the extension cord for the light, Romero?
Yeah, right here. I'm just plugging it in. Yeah, okay. Okay.
All right, switch it on, will you?
Right.
Well?
Yep.
Seems like it.
What you got in the window there, Joe? Look at that.
Anthracene tracks all over, foot impressions there, tool marks on the safe. Left prints on the floor, on the wall?
No question. He left plenty of trail.
All right, let's get him. Lee Jones put in a call to the crime lab and ordered a photographer out to take pictures at the scene of the burglary. Lee and the photographer would stay at the scene to gather physical evidence and take pictures of the antecedent prints and markings for presentation in court. 10:52 p.m. Jones packed up the ultraviolet lamp, and Ben and I took it along with us. We drove directly to Bryson's apartment. Nobody was there.
No, nobody in the bedroom either. How about that?
I don't know. I don't get it. Bryson's had plenty of time to get back here. Over an hour.
And what about his wife? The only time we know she left was when she had to go bail him out in that traffic one.
Doesn't look like they pulled out, does it? There's a closet full of clothes in there, a lot of their personal things around.
Yeah. Sure looks like they were expecting to come back. We might check with the apartment house manager. He could tell us if they gave notice to move. Let's see here.
Now, what do you got?
Note here on the desk. See, he says, Charlie, I'm sorry, but I told you it just doesn't work out with us. When you read this, I'll be on my way east. I don't want to be mean with you. I just think it'll work better if we forget each other, that's all. Thanks for everything so long. Signed, Ruth.
Guess she doesn't like him much either.
No, wait a minute.
What are you doing?
Police officer, Bryson. I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
Oh, I know who you are. I remember. What do you want?
Ben, you want to plug in that light?
Yeah, the outlet right over here.
What is all this? You said you wanted to talk to me. What's it all about?
You all set, Ben?
Just a minute. All right, okay, turn it on.
What are you doing? Hey, what are you trying to do to me?
You've done it all to yourself, mister.
Lit up like a Christmas tree, Joe. It's all over him, head to foot.
The clothes, your hands. What is it? There's light glowing all over them. What are you doing?
It's a chemical, Bryson. Harmless. Same stuff you left all over the drugstore tonight. Pack up, Ben. Come on, let's go, Bryson.
I don't understand. What's this whole thing all about?
You'll understand it. Here. A note for you.
Oh.
All set, Joe.
Let's go, mister.
I guess I didn't know her. Just a tramp. I guess I should have been smart about it.
Yeah, I guess so. Come on.
How could I know? She said she was in love with me. I believed it. What am I going to say when they ask me? All our friends are all going to ask me. They'll say, what happened to Ruth? I'll say, what happened this time? What am I going to say happened this time?
What are you going to say to the jury this time?
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On December 10th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 86, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Charles Lang Bryson was tried and convicted on 3 counts of first-degree burglary. This is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for not less than 5 years. However, due to his previous convictions on this and other felony counts, Bryson was judged an habitual criminal. He was sentenced to spend the rest of his natural life in the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
My name's Regan. I get 10 a day in expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Jack Webb is Jeff Regan, Investigator, as CBS offers you hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of The Lady with Too Much Hair.
It's Suite 308 in the Cosmopolitan Building on 7th near Olive. The letters on the door say International Detective Bureau, Anthony J. Lyon, President. They used to be in gold, but the Lions scraped them off one day and made some kind of a deal with Fort Knox. Oh, it isn't much of an office. 1 room, the size of a cigar box, and it smells about the same. There's an overstuffed chair in one corner with a loose spring that's a menace. Right over it, there's a crack in the ceiling. But the Lion doesn't seem to mind. He says the place is rigged for comfort. Well, that's where I was at 5:25 last Wednesday night. The Lion was sitting behind the desk looking at himself in a mirror. What he saw should have scared him. A pair of shoe-button eyes mounted in a head like a Spanish onion.
You know, Regan, I don't feel like I used to.
Neither do the Republicans.
I think I've got that middle-aged look.
Just the spread.
It's getting a little scarce on top.
Change your shampoo.
I shouldn't be getting bald at my age. I'm only 39.
Your addition's kind of bad, isn't it?
I guess it's because I got so much worry. Running this business takes a lot out of a man.
Takes more out of your clients.
They get good service at reasonable rates.
Well, I've heard the commercial.
Regan, cancel all arrangements for tonight. You're going to be busy.
Doing what?
That's the trouble with you, young man. Too hasty. Learn how to relax, like me.
Tell that to your ulcer.
Ever hear of a lady named Hazel Carr?
No.
Well, you're going to. She's a businesswoman, and we got business with her.
What kind?
Later.
When?
Anthony J. Lyon, International Detective. Yeah. 1302 Beechwood. Right away, Mrs. Carr. Okay, there's the kickoff, Regan.
Who's playing?
You and a red-headed guy. Hop over to this address and hide behind a tree or something.
I forgot my beard.
You'll see a red-headed guy coming out of the house in about 45 minutes. Get a real good look at him.
Why?
He's the guy you're going to study so you'll know him any time you see him.
Where does Hazel Carr fit?
She's inside the house. After you spot the guy, go in and see her.
Fill in the rest.
She'll give you all you got to know. Now get moving and stay on the ball.
I work for you. How can I get off? Well, I left the Lion sitting there, and I drove out to the Beechwood address. It turned out to be a corner house stuck on the top of a hill, and it figured a good rain would wash it down the drain. Well, I parked across the street and lit a cigarette. Watched a kid on a bicycle throwing newspapers. His aim was real good. He got them all on the roof. I watched him finish the block, and that's when my knee action began to suffer. A heavy guy in a trench coat had his foot on my running board. He had a big face, and he turned it sideways and stuck it in the window.
What's the matter, buddy? Out of gas?
No, my foot fell asleep.
Oh. How about a light? Want a light?
Got one.
Okay. Out of fluid, anyway.
Well, pull your head out of here before you lose it.
It's all right. I always carry a spare.
Come on, beat it, Buster. You spoil my view.
Oh. Peeking, huh?
Maybe.
You say maybe. I say yes.
All right, what do you want?
Same as you. You're looking. I'm looking.
Whose side you on?
Depends.
On what?
Whose side you're on.
See ya. That was when the front door of the Carr house opened and 6 feet of pinstripe gray came out on the sidewalk. His 200 pounds was topped off with a bush of red hair, and he had a face to match. It had a flushed look, like a high school boy at a burlesque show. He started down the street. The guy in the trench coat crossed over to the other side and moved after him, kind of slow. Then they disappeared around the corner. Well, he was playing his hand, I was playing mine. I climbed out of my car and walked up to the door of the Carr place. The bell sounded like something that should have been in Buckingham, but the woman who answered wasn't any queen.
Yes?
My name's Regan, International Detective Bureau.
Oh, Lion's Eye. Please come in, Mr. Regan. I'm Hazel Carr.
All right.
You saw him, I suppose.
The redhead?
Rather large, isn't he?
The Dons are missing a bet.
Sit down, Mr. Regan. May I offer you something?
I'll try a story.
We'll get to that in a moment.
What's wrong with right now?
We have other things to discuss. You have a dark suit, I suppose?
Yeah, I got it on.
Well, get it pressed. You're going out tonight, Mr. Regan.
I'm already booked.
Then disappoint her. You see, from now on, you're working for me.
Come on, strike a match, lady. I don't like the dark.
You're going to meet the 7:10 at the Union Station. My daughter Phyllis is coming in. She's been at an Eastern school getting finished.
How'd she turn out?
Just a vacation. She's dying to see Hollywood. She should have a young man.
Well, I'm no escort bureau.
I want more than an escort for Phyllis. I want a man with authority.
She play that rough?
That redhead you saw. He thinks he's in love with her.
We all make mistakes.
But he's impetuous, follows her all over. He even threatened her. He says he'll kill her and himself if she doesn't marry him.
Well, either way, he loses.
I don't care about him. It's Phyllis that worries me. She's so young.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want her to know that things are so bad she needs protection. You must remember that.
Maybe she'll figure it out herself.
Don't let her. Anyway, I've wired her that a young man was going to meet her at the train to show her around. A nice young man. Can you act the part?
I'll try.
I'll see that you do.
Who's that boy out in front in the trench coat?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay. Anything else?
I made your reservations for dinner dancing at the Grove, and I'll show her a good time.
You're paying the bills.
And keep her occupied until I figure out a way to get rid of that redhead.
Murder might work.
Think about it. Call me after you pick her up.
Sure.
Now, you better go.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Regan.
Yeah?
Here.
What's this?
Emily Post. Read up on your manners.
Well, I figured she wasn't telling everything, but it was her play. I headed for my place to clean up before meeting the train, and it took a little time bucking traffic on Franklin. At Gower, I played tag with the truck driver, trying hard to crease my fenders. It was about 6:15 when I pulled to a stop in front of my apartment. When I opened the door, I smelled cigar smoke. Somebody was over for a slumber party. A short, stocky guy with a stub crammed in his face was sleeping on the bed. He must have been having a real good dream, because he was tough to wake up. Hey, come on, buddy, hey. Come on, the alarm just went off.
Huh? Oh, hiya, Regan. Guess I dozed off waiting for you.
Pajamas in the top drawer.
How are you? Like to scratch. No, kind of late last night.
You should have stayed home today.
Had to see you.
What for?
Oh, you know what's a pretty crummy mattress you got.
Well, I'll put in for a beauty rest.
Yeah. Do that, Regan.
All right, punk, let's get to it.
Ease off, Pilgrim. I'm still shaking the sand out.
Well, get up and start talking.
Easy. Name's Mo. I'm a friend.
Convince me.
I'm going to. Hey, you got something to drink around?
Maybe after the talk.
Piker.
Who sent you?
Your insurance company.
I'm paid up.
I'm not in the collection department.
What else they got?
Friendly service, goodwill. Getting close to Christmas.
Yeah, I'll send you a card.
Don't want no card. Just want the pleasure of knowing I did you a service.
Name the kind.
Guys going to meet trains have accidents sometimes.
Santa Fe's not going to like you.
But I figure you will. Tipping you how to stay healthy.
My doctor tells me vitamins.
Mo says it's a wrong dope. Skip the train and take in a show.
I don't like popcorn.
It'd pay you to learn.
You want to tell me why?
You got enough. How about that drink, friend?
You didn't earn it.
Suit yourself, Peter. But being nice is really a knack with me. I'm pretty nasty.
That won't get you an argument.
I'd even hit a guy 2 feet shorter than me.
Yeah, I'm turning pale.
That's a good color for you, Regan. Stay that way.
He chewed on the cigar a couple of times, and then he went out to find a spittoon. Oh, the whole thing had a crummy look, like a box of stale crackers. I tried to figure whether he was working for the redhead or grubbing around on his own, but not enough scenes were in to make it a full picture. Well, the car woman was writing the checks, and I was still trying. So I cleaned up, threw on some fresh clothes, and made it to the Union Station a little after 7. The super chief was just coming in. The station master, who walked with a slight lisp, took her name and said he'd bring her to me. And then I fought my way to the restaurant, and the waiter brought me a cup of coffee. He was a skinny little guy with a lot of neck muscles. I guess he got that way from talking so much.
Are you going someplace, mister?
Just been.
Oh, got fun?
It wasn't bad.
Sugar?
No, thanks.
Yeah, well, that's no good for you anyway. Gives you diabetes. You know, mister, I gotta go someplace myself sometime.
I got a suggestion.
I've been working here 12 years, yeah. People come, people go. Pete Broidy stays on forever. Hey, cream?
No.
Well, it's just as well it's sour. You know the farthest place I ever go, mister? That first door to the right.
Are you Mr. Regan?
Yeah.
I believe you're waiting for me.
You got a name?
Phyllis Carr.
That'll do.
Oh, but darling, aren't you going to ask me to sit down?
You can handle that yourself.
Thank you.
Where's your baggage?
We'll have to pick it up.
Are you going someplace, lady?
I just got in.
I've been figuring on going someplace myself. I was just telling your friend here.
Get us some coffee.
But I...
Get it.
Okay. I'm just being friendly.
Yeah, I'm going to adore it here. Town full of mashers.
You'll get along.
I'm much older than I look, you know.
Carry a sign.
Well, you don't seem very happy with me. I'm dreadfully sorry. You're much better than I expected.
Your mother thought different.
Oh, she's a dear. I thought at first she might pick me one of those children from UCLA.
They'll grow up.
But darling, who can wait that long? I want to have fun while I'm young.
Look, what kind of school do you go to?
All girls.
Well, that explains a little.
And it's very progressive.
Here's your coffee, lady.
Oh, thank you so much.
Don't mention it, lady. Yeah, like I was telling your friend here before.
Where are you going, Mr. Regan?
I figured on going...
No, not you. Me. Me.
Oh.
To phone your mother.
Say hello to the dear for me.
I'm going to say a lot more. Now, you sit right there till I get back.
Oh, whatever you say, darling. I'll be making myself more beautiful.
Save that for the redhead.
Where'd you hear about him?
News gets around.
You're more my type.
Now, you better settle for UCLA. You don't want to wind up an old maid. Well, it wasn't appealing. Nursemaid to a junior miss, trying hard to work up a sweat. The curtain wasn't down, but I was ready to call off the show. I scratched around for a nickel, and I found the phone booth between the newsstand and a broom closet. There was some old gal inside with a waffle for a hat having a private filibuster. When she finished, I went in and started to dial Hazel Carr. That's when I spotted that redhead in the pinstripe working his way through the crowd. He had an eager look, like an English setter flushing quail. I threw the receiver back on the hook and started for Phyllis. As soon as I stepped out of the booth, the thunder broke. Somebody threw 2 slugs into the redhead and his light went out. The crowd began to gather, so I went back for Phyllis. It was hard going. I was moving against the grain.
Hey, boys, how are you going? What? I heard a shot just to come out
Look out.
Hey. Hey, you. Some excitement outside, hey, mister?
Call homicide.
I've been working here 12 years, seen a lot of things.
Where'd you go?
One day a whack chased the major all over
Oh,
the place.
listen.
Hey.
Now, listen. That blonde sitting over in the corner with a high meter reading. Where'd she go?
You're spilling the cork. Now see what you've done.
What happened to her?
Leave me alone.
Give it to me.
She went out.
When?
Well, just after you did.
Before or after the shot?
I don't remember.
Well, think.
Before. Yeah, before. I remember watching the way she walked.
She get a date?
She tried, but she said she was going steady with a red-headed guy.
Well, things weren't going to get any better at the Union Station. Homicide would be down there scratching around. So I used the back door of the restaurant, picked up my car, and went out to the Lion. When he opened the front door, he had a bottle of beer in one hand and a chicken sandwich in the other. He looked unhappy, like a beaver with a loose tooth.
Regan, where you been? I've been looking all over for you.
Did you try missing persons?
Called your place 3 times, nobody answered.
You knew I was working.
That's what I called you about. I got something to tell you.
Well, wait your turn.
What's the matter with you? In trouble again?
No, you are, big shot. Another bum client.
International detective never had a bum client.
Well, those 2 women just spoiled your record.
You've been drinking.
You better call homicide and get us off that hook and then turn back Carr's retainer.
Regan, what do you say?
You heard me.
But it's unethical to return money. When Anthony J.
Oh,
Lyon
stop
gets
it, will you?
work.
You quit giving blood when you find out somebody'd pay for it.
You're out of line.
Every time you cut yourself, you make a beeline for the Red Cross to get it back.
International detectives under obligation to Mrs. Carr, and we're going to see it through.
All right. You hold her hand in the gas chamber.
What does that mean?
That's where she's going to be after the police get through.
What happened?
That redhead got himself a free ride to the morgue. It looks like her daughter, Phyllis Carr, called the play.
You're out of your mind. Look at this telegram.
Let me see.
It's from Phyllis Carr in New York. She just ran away from school with a Princeton man.
You are listening to the story of the lady with too much hair. Tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Commissions are still available in the Army Nurse Corps. Graduate registered nurses between the ages of 21 and 45 may qualify for service with this fine organization. Nurses may request active or inactive status. Those on active status enjoy the same privileges as regular Army officers. Those on inactive status may continue their civilian nursing duties, but stand ready to serve in time of emergency. If you're interested in joining the Army Nurse Corps and believe you qualify for a commission, apply to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. And now back to Jeff Regan, Investigator, and the story of the lady with too much hair.
Well, it all made sense like a girdle on a Siamese twin. Started out with a redhead and a pinstripe and wound up a nursemaid job with a girl named Phyllis. While I'm in a phone booth, somebody throws a couple of sleeping pills at the redheaded guy. The smoke cleared, and Red's doing the big sleep in Union Station, and my date's somewhere else. The Lion makes it a Sunday special with a telegram that says everything is off. Well, it didn't take 20/20 vision to see that the girl in the station was a substitute or the telegram was a phony. Well, it was easy to figure my next move. I went across the street, and I found a booth way over in the corner. I was 2 drinks into the house when the skinny guy in the trench coat eased down beside me.
Hi, Regan. Think it'll help?
You get around.
So do you.
Still following people?
I gave up. You?
You got something to say?
Oh, I'm just here for a friendly drink.
Try the bartender.
I like conversation.
What kind?
All kinds. Bourbon and water. Now, don't look so worried, Regan. I'll pay for my own.
You gonna make a night of it?
I can't. Got things to do. Gotta find a man who shot a man.
What man?
The one I followed. The one you watched. Any idea?
Yeah.
Who?
You.
Bum joke, Regan.
Well, why'd you follow him?
My business. Besides, I lost him in a traffic jam.
Here you are, Mac.
Thanks. Well, here's to the newspapers. Seen this one yet with pictures? All about our friend. Fine murder story.
No, I work the crosswords.
Oh, give me crime and lots of it. You know why?
No, tell me why.
It's sin, and sin is here to stay.
All right, you said your piece.
Unknown assailant fires 2 shots into traveler at Union Station. Listening?
It's an old story.
Think so?
He got his red hair dirty on the floor.
Wrong caper.
Well, I'll catch up later.
This guy was different.
How?
Bald, like a boiled egg.
Crazy, give me that.
See what I mean? The guy in the picture ain't got red hair, got no hair.
What's your angle, Buster?
Like I said, I read papers. Why?
I thought maybe you belonged to the Barbers Union. Well, it turned out to be an even trade. I took his newspaper, and he got my ice and the drink. Well, I went back to the office and sat down and tried to figure it out. It was all crazy, like an Eskimo with a popsicle. I started by calling Hazel Carr's house, but the nickel came back. The phone book gave a business address, so I drove out there. It was a pink stucco job out on Olympic, right after you pass Redondo. A red neon sign told you that Hazel Carr Incorporated specialized in hair pieces. Nobody answered up front, so I slipped around to the back door. The door opened into a workroom. I scratched a match. Somebody had been looking for something, and it wasn't dandruff. Every wig in the place was torn apart. It was just about then that I heard a step, and then a flashlight jumped out at me, and I smelled a cigar. It was Mo.
Hi, Regan.
Well, sleeping beauty.
I'm awake this time.
I'm impressed. Tell me more.
Stand still, Regan. This alarm clock goes off.
It's already rung.
I didn't do it.
Body in Union Station? Chamber of Commerce gets upset.
I'm from Florida.
Figure to bring up the orange crop?
Didn't do this either.
Spit out the seeds.
Regan, you're not friendly.
You got here first.
I'm here all the time.
No, you're trying too hard, Mo.
I work here. It's a serious business. We make billiard balls happy.
All right, so you work for Hazel Carr. Say something with hormones.
You're learning nothing that's not in the trades.
Why'd you snatch the redhead's toupee?
You make me tired of saying I didn't.
Couldn't meet his installments?
Look out, you'll get credit.
What's in that toupee?
Ask enough questions, Regan.
Relax, buddy. You'll burn out your coils.
You're in the way. I told you once.
I was born on the second honeymoon.
Well, happy birthday, Junior. Oh!
I was lying face down in a pile of Santa Claus beards and yak tails. When I rolled over, there was the Lion. He was shaking like a polar bear in a French bathing suit.
Wake up, Regan, wake up. I could hire a detective for the price of you.
Get a midget and he'd starve to death.
We got a client. She needs you.
What are you, Silent Arrow?
I'm a nursemaid with you around. She called the office.
Gonna have another daughter?
I told you it's legitimate. She didn't know nothing about the phony.
Where is she now?
1629 Locust Avenue. Why?
She's in the middle of a smuggle.
You sure?
It adds up.
She pays the bill. She's straight.
How'd you meet her in the first place?
I got a right to a private life.
Not at your age. No, I left the lion standing here and I climbed in my car. I made a couple of right turns in the wrong zone, but I found the address all right. 1629 turned out to be a two-story Monterey number in the middle of what looked like a golf course. Hazel Carr owned this place, too. She must have been selling toupees to Crosby's whole stable. I parked the car and I headed for the lights that were on downstairs. I took the front steps two at a time. Well.
Wow. If it isn't UCLA.
I just got in from Berkeley.
Oh, don't be bitter.
I'm not. Where you been?
Jealous?
You're fickle.
Just when I'm in college.
Lucky student body.
I didn't know you noticed.
Well, skip it. It was a lousy act anyway.
Good enough to fool you. Going somewhere?
I got a date.
If it's with Mrs. Carr, don't bother. I sent for you.
You better try again.
Your boss just got a phone call. Well, if I put on one act, I can put on another, can't I?
You didn't kill Red.
It's not important.
Yes, it is. Come on back inside. We're going to have a threesome.
I like it better at the Zebra Room. You could find a dark place.
That'll come later.
I'm leaving.
No, you're not. Inside, sis.
You don't have to coax me.
Where is she? Mrs. Carr.
Look, it wasn't me. She's been dead a long time.
So's your alibi.
I've only been here for 5 minutes.
You're lying.
I'll make you listen to me.
Look out. Stop it. You pick up that gun and I'll break you in two.
Oh, stop it. Get me a drink. Some over there.
All right.
Look, I didn't kill him. Not either one of them.
Sure.
You don't believe anything.
Depends on the source. Here, this will slow you down.
Thanks.
All right, now let's start talking.
You got me into it.
Mo?
Maybe.
Say yes.
Don't be personal.
You get me out of the way so he can plug the redhead and snatch the toupee.
Mo's impulsive. That's all. Forget about him.
But the toupee was empty, so the two of you have to scratch around some other places for it.
Shall I run my fingers through your hair?
Let's stick to the subject.
I wish you would.
Did the redhead know he was carrying an empty load?
Nobody did, except Mrs. Carr.
It was a smuggle, and she was holding out.
It's a mistake for a woman, don't you think?
They had a trio, and she wanted to sing solo.
The boys weren't smart like you are.
Maybe she was worried about her daughter. Maybe she wanted to go straight, and the boys didn't want her to.
You're wasting our time. Let me show you where I fit in.
No, you're on the wrong floor.
There's a way to fix everything.
You're an accessory.
I can become essential.
You'd get lipstick on my expense account.
Come here.
Now, break it up, baby. You scratched around every place. You still can't find the goods.
I think I found it.
You figure the old lady used me as a safe deposit box?
Where else could it be?
All right, supposing I got it. What next?
Do I have to draw a diagram? We might as well be realistic about this thing.
What's it worth?
$50,000 of the white stuff.
I don't like to dream.
You look like you could use one. I'm extra.
Meet the contract there.
Oh,
yeah, this act figured to do it.
Mo.
You had a good memory.
Mo, baby,
Skip it. Stand still, Pilgrim.
I was trying to get it from
I
you.
heard the song. That Regan might like to hear the chorus.
Oh. Mr. Bet, Regan. You should grab an offer when it's hot.
Don't be sad, Pilgrim. She smiled at all the boys. Come on, let's get out of here. You'll look better with slow paralysis.
Well, I had about as much chance as a clean towel in the boarding house. When the muscle said move, I had to be polite. I guess he figured the car place was too crowded and he wanted new scenery. Well, we went out to the street, and he steered me for his car. It was a black job with white sidewalls, and there were 2 suitcases in the back seat. But all his bags weren't packed. He was missing a small package. and he had the idea it was over at my place. When we got there, it was about midnight, but it wasn't too late for him to go to work.
Now, isn't this better, Regan? Home sweet home.
I never liked it anyway.
Move.
I got a lease.
Those things can be broken. Want me to show you how?
No, I'll struggle along.
You make things hard on yourself. Now do something the easy way. Get me the stuff.
You're wasting your time.
I got lots of it. You ain't.
Well, I haven't got it.
Mo thinks you have.
Well, then he's pretty dumb.
That's on account I don't like your choice of words.
Buy me a dictionary.
You're going to get yourself 2 big holes in your middle if you don't lay that stuff in my hand.
Sorry I had to do that to him, Regan.
I forgive you.
I just came up to get my newspaper back, and he was acting nasty.
The little guy in the bar.
My boss doesn't like it when I shoot people.
Uncle Sam, huh?
Mm-hmm. Narcotics. I tried to tip you off before, but you weren't listening.
Somebody should have tipped Mo.
Weren't you watching? I just did.
Well, it was all over fast, like a short beer in a cheap saloon. They took him away in a basket, and all I had left was a spot on the rug. They had a good thing until Hazel Carr got anxious and decided to pull out. Only she wanted to be clean and have the stuff, too. That's what started the scavenger hunt. The only thing straight in the whole corkscrew was the part about the daughter needing protection. But I guess she got it back at Princeton. The stuff? Oh, it finally turned up. Hazel Carr had found herself a good place to hide it. The Fed spotted it the first thing the next morning when he saw the lion. How could he miss? The lion looked awful in that red toupee.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan with Herb Butterfield as Anthony J. Lyon. It's CBS at the same time next week for more hard-boiled action and mystery with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Written by Larry Roman and Jackson Gillis. Produced by Sterling Tracy. Included in tonight's cast were Mary Lansing, Ken Christie, Sidney Miller, Lorette Tilbrandt, and Ed Barrier. 29,000 nurses are needed to join the new Army Nurse Corps Officers Reserve. For the first time in history, qualified nurses have the opportunity of receiving commissions in the regular Army Reserve. These nurses will remain on inactive status, ready to serve their country in time of emergency. 4,000 of them, if they wish, may choose active duty. All nurses who receive commissions will benefit from the opportunity for specialized training offered to them by the Army. Inactive reserve status will not interfere with the nurse's civilian life. If you're a registered graduate nurse between the ages of 21 and 45, drop a card to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. Original music for this program is by Milton Charles. Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting.
You're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. A pair of bandits are staging a rapid-fire campaign of holdups in your city. In 21 days, 11 food markets have been robbed. The holdups go on. The suspects are still unidentified. Your job? Get them. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, September 26th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Didion. My name's Friday. It was 9:18 a.m. when I got to the record bureau. Lieutenant Cunningham's office.
Joe, how's it doing?
Oh, not too much.
Got a job you can do for us, Frank. I'd like to have it as soon as you can get it out.
Oh, what's it about?
Only these market bandits. We've already gotten out a dozen teletypes and bulletins on them. I'd like to get out some mimeographs, too, if we can.
General distribution, eh? What do you want on them?
Well, I better lay out the whole thing for you. A lot of the copies are going to the Retail Grocers Association, all their members.
No luck with those 2 fees so far, eh?
No. We're no closer than we were 3 weeks ago. Figure this ought to plug another loophole.
How many copies you figure you want on this? About 1,000?
Yeah, that's fine. That ought to do it.
All right. Okay, now where do you want to go in it, Joe?
Well, you better lead off with the first job they pulled. That was on the 3rd of this month. Makes it a little better than 3 weeks now. They hit a supermarket out on Pico.
Okay.
Got it? Ever since, they've averaged about 3 jobs a week. We know they're hitting nothing but supermarkets. All of them on main thoroughfares, no small neighborhood stuff.
I got it.
So far, they've confined their operations to the 77th Street Division and the county territories, generally the south end of town. They're 2 men, and they got a pretty well-established M.O.
Well-established M.O., okay.
They're hitting in the morning hours, usually from the time the markets open up until around noontime. They use a stolen car. 95% of the time, a car stolen from the industrial area. Cars they steal for the jobs are always either a Pontiac or an
Yeah.
We also know they're dropping the stolen cars within a short radius of the holdup scene, about a half a dozen blocks or so. In some instances, they use a second automobile or public transportation, some kind of bus or streetcar, to make their getaway after they drop the stolen car.
Joey.
I'm sorry. A little fast, huh?
Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Well, they usually pull up and park directly in front of the market that they're going to hold up. One of the men always remains in the car behind the wheel. Apparently, it's always the same man.
His description?
Meager. We know he's good size. MWA. Fairly large build. Here's about the best description we've been able to piece together on the second man. Picked up a little bit from each victim.
All right.
Second man described as MWA also. About 5'8", medium build, 155 to 160 pounds. Always wears a hat. Brown suit. Rough material of some kind, maybe tweed. Want to smoke, Frank?
Huh?
Smoke.
Oh, no.
All right. When he enters the market for the holdup, the second man always holds a white handkerchief to his face as if he's wiping his eyes. Keeps most of his face covered with it during the robbery. He's armed with a nickel-plated revolver, possibly 38 caliber. We know the jobs are well cased because in almost every instance the suspect goes directly to the manager of the market.
Directly to the manager.
He hands the manager a brown paper sack, tells him to put the money in it, and then he takes off. So far, he's never attempted any rough stuff, no gunplay. On 3 occasions, when the suspects got only small amounts of money at one market, they hit again in 15 or 20 minutes at another store in the same general area. They never make any attempt to disguise or conceal the license number on the getaway car. As I say, they always abandon the car a short distance from the holdup scene.
Let's see, Okay, I got it.
Well, that's about all of it, Frank. I guess you can boil that down into some kind of shape, huh?
Yeah, okay. I'll have it typed up in a form. I'll get you a copy before we make the run, see if it's okay with you.
Fine, thanks.
Not going so good, huh?
No, it isn't, Frank. Pretty slow. We've been on top of this thing for a couple of weeks now. We're still looking for some kind of a break.
See, I understand Glenn Chandler from your office took off for some fishing down in Mexico, huh?
Yeah. Not doing bad from what I hear. I got a card from him yesterday. He's down by Keno Bay. He put the bite on me to send him a dozen martin plugs.
Fish must be hitting pretty good down there.
That's what he says, yeah. Those big brown sea bass especially. I wouldn't mind getting in a couple of days down there myself.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Reckons you're Cunningham. Yeah, just a minute. You, Joe.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. When? All right. Yeah, okay. Right away. Yeah, fine. Check that for me later, Frank. Might be a little change.
What's the matter?
Market bandits. They hit again.
These days, most commercial banks seem to be interested in talking to you about themselves and telling you what to do. But at San Juan Bank, California, we prefer a different approach, one that most banks don't use. We listen to your needs, to your plans, to your dreams. We found that only by listening can we truly understand. Without understanding your business, no one should be giving you advice. But listening, understanding, and fulfilling the needs of thousands of California businesses is why San Juan Bank is the 3rd largest bank headquartered in California, something you may not have known. San Juan bankers are relationship-oriented and experienced in working with businesses large and small. Our senior relationship managers will work directly with your staff to create the solutions you need today and beyond. So see your San Juan banker. There are more than 100 offices statewide, or call 1-800-400-2781. When you do, we'll do something that you just might not have experienced in quite a while. We'll listen.
San Juan Bank, California. A relationship worth having.
Finding out you or a loved one has cancer is never easy. It's natural to be afraid when faced with the decision of choosing a cancer treatment. It's just the cancer itself. The Proton Treatment Center at Loma Linda University Medical Center is the result of 4 decades of leading-edge cancer research and treatment. Opened in 1990, the Proton Treatment Center offers a non-surgical procedure that is superior to traditional radiation therapy in a number of ways. Proton therapy is so precise, there is little or no damage to surrounding tissue. This results in minimal side effects, and most patients experience no disruption in their daily activities. In fact, proton therapy is offered as an outpatient procedure. Call 1-800-PROTONS for a free information packet and videotape explaining the benefits of proton therapy. 1-800-PROTONS. The Proton Treatment Center at Loma Linda University Medical Center. 1-800-PROTONS.
KNX 1070 News Radio.
9:38 a.m. Ben and I got in the car and drove to the scene of the bandits' latest holdup, a new supermarket out on Slauson near the intersection of South Broadway. After interviewing the manager of the store and all available witnesses to the robbery, there wasn't much doubt about the identity of the suspect. The description and M.O. fitted perfectly with that of the 2 men who'd been staging the whirlwind campaign of market robberies throughout the south end of the city for the past 3 weeks. The approach and execution of the holdup was the same in every detail, even to the stolen car they'd used, which was found abandoned a short distance from the robbery scene. There was only one deviation, and it was the first break we'd had in the case since it started. A woman customer at the market, a Mrs. Thomas Swanson, saw the holdup man as he left the store and ran to the getaway car. She told us that the car door apparently stuck when he tried to pull it open, and that he took away the handkerchief which he'd held to his face in order to pull the door open with both hands. During those few seconds, she got a good look at him. After taking the crime report and making our preliminary investigation, we brought Mrs. Swanson downtown. We had her check through mug books of all recent parolees from the state penitentiary, all ex-convicts with robbery records. After a couple of hours of checking mug shots, she couldn't seem to make positive identification.
Very sorry, officer. It just gets a little confusing after a while looking at all these pictures. I did get a good look at the man's face. I just can't settle on one of these pictures, though.
Well, from what you did see of him, Mrs. Swanson, the lower part of the man's face especially, can you find a good likeness in any of these?
Well, yes, I can find good likenesses for some of his features, but none of them are all together in any one of these pictures here. Like the mouth and chin on this man here.
Yes, ma'am. Is that pretty close?
Almost exactly, I'd say. And then the nose on this one here, it's the very same.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't seen any picture that fits them all together. You know what I mean, don't you?
Yes, ma'am, I understand. Now, these 5 pictures here that you've picked out, you pretty much say that they incorporate all the features of the man that you saw getting that
That's
car?
right, officer. This man here, and this one, too.
Uh-huh.
I'd say the lower part of his face is exactly like that. The small mouth and mustache just like that, and his chin pointed like on this man.
And the upper part of his face, would you say it resembles these others here?
Yes. These 3 here, just the upper part. You see, around the eyes, the forehead. I'd say that was very close.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just put the 2 sets of pictures together, I think you'd have the man perfectly. Sorry, I can't be more helpful, as I say. Looking at all these books of pictures, it gets a little confusing.
Well, you've given us quite a bit of help, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Is there anything else?
No, thank you. Not right now. We've got your address and telephone. We'll probably be contacting you in a day or two. If you'd like to wait right here, we'll make arrangements to have one of the officers drive you back to your home.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Goodbye, ma'am. We'll be talking to you.
Okay, yes, bye.
What do you think, Joe?
Well, it's more than we had yesterday. Her description's the best we've got on the guy so far.
How about getting a composite picture made up from the mug shots you picked
Yeah,
out?
that's what I was thinking. You want to duck in and get somebody to drive Miss Swanson home? I want to go in here in the captain's office.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Ben.
Friday, how'd you make that?
Well, could have been worse, Captain.
Woman find anything in the mug books?
No positive identification. She picked out 5 of them she thought were close. I think maybe Putoff over at the crime lab ought to be able to make up a pretty good composite from them.
Mm-hmm. She fairly positive about the man's description?
Yeah, seems to have a clear idea. Good composite ought to help us quite a bit.
You get this new description, that mimeograph you haven't made up?
No, not yet. I'm going to see Frank about it in a minute.
Hi, Skipper.
Ben?
Got a hold of Jeff Gonzalez, Joe. He's going to drive me to Swanson home.
Fine. Did you ask him if he checked on that last run we made through the staff's office?
Yeah, he picked it up. He and Frank Estrada are going to start checking the names this morning. It's not much of a list. Been pretty well picked over already.
Mm-hmm. So all you got from the witnesses out there this morning? Description from this Mrs. Swanson?
Yeah, that's about it. The rest of it was their usual M.O. Swanson woman was the only one who got a good look at the guy when he took the handkerchief away from his face.
How about the getaway car they found?
Same as the others. Leighton Prince checked it over. It's clean.
Well, two thieves are there, sure. Look when we get ours.
How about Metro Division, Captain? Can we get any help out there?
What do you got in mind?
Well, we know that take that the two thieves got in that job this morning was pretty small for them, $340.
Yeah.
From their M.O. in the past, we know whenever they get a small take on a job, they usually hit another place fast. They work in a fairly concentrated area down the south end. They only go after big markets on the main thoroughfares.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking if we could get some help from Metro, put maybe 15 or 20 crews down in the area for the next couple of days, might stand a good chance of grabbing them.
We were talking to Dick Tiernan over at the sheriff's office, Skipper. He says he could put some of his men down that area, too. Cover the county on the fringes, the territory around there. What do you think?
All right, fine. If I can get Stevens at Metro right now, set it up. So you've about 20 crews, is that right?
Just about, yeah. With any kind of luck at all, we ought to land them.
Well, sure worth a try. Lieutenant Stevens, please. Yeah, Joe, this is Harry Didion. Fine. We got a little stakeout problem here. How about using some of your men? About 30. All right, I'll settle for 25. Yeah, south end of town. Those market bandits. Fine. Would you have them report here at robbery, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning? All right. Thanks a lot. It's all set. You got 25 men, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay, Skipper.
We'll give you a dozen teams to start with, and $1 and Miss Crowder one more. How many you figure working from the sheriff's office?
Oh, about 4 or 5 crews, I imagine.
All right, it's your operation. You two will be in charge on our end. You run the show, you brief the men. If you need anything, call me.
Right.
How about the overall plan, Skipper? You got any special ideas on it?
Just one.
Yeah?
Get them.
1:18 p.m. We got the revised description of one of the hold-up men to Lieutenant Frank Cunningham at the Record Bureau. He told us 1,000 copies of the special mimeograph form containing all available information on the two market bandits would be ready for us that night. We met with Sergeant Cutoff, the artist at the crime lab, and he went to work making up a composite picture of one of the suspects from the mugshot selected by the robbery witness, Mrs. Swanson. When the picture was completed, we had Mrs. Swanson check it for similarity to the actual hold-up man, and then we brought it back to the Record Bureau, where 1,000 copies were made of it. The pictures, along with the mimeograph forms, were sent immediately to the Retail Grocers Association for distribution to all market operators throughout the city. Additional copies of the picture and the information sheet were given to each man who was to work the stakeout when we met in the squad room at 7 o'clock the next morning. Besides the men from Metropolitan Division and the men from Robbery who were going to work with us, Lieutenant Dick Tiernan and Sergeant Dave Carey from the Sheriff's Office were also there for the briefing.
Well, briefly, that's the rundown on the two suspects and the M.O. they follow. It's the same information and description on them you'll find in those memo forms we handed out. Joe, you want to take over and give them their assignment?
Yeah, all right. Well, if we just take a look at this pin-up map here for a minute, I'll try and brief you on how the stakeout's going to go. The way we got it figured, anyway. Well, we've worked out a plan we think ought to be the easiest and the best way to work it. If any of you have any suggestions as we go along, we'd sure like to have them. All right, now, as you can see from the map here, the stakeout area is in the south end. It runs from, can you all see it from there?
Yeah.
Okay. It runs from Santa Fe Avenue over here on the east to Vermont Avenue on the west, running north and south. Now, we'll have to cover from Santa Barbara Avenue on the north down to Manchester. That'll be the southern boundary right there. That's the area the thieves have been working. And we're going to have 14 of our own crews covering that area, and Dick Tiernan and Dave Carey from the Sheriff's Office will have their men covering adjoining county territory. Now, we've broken the map down into equal units, as you can see here. Each unit will be covered by one car, and each of you will be assigned a unit number. Romero and myself will be an 80K. We'll have a roving unit. We'll cover the entire area. You'll have three-way radios in your car, so you'll be able to contact us directly if you have to. Now, if you'll check the map again, you can see these green pins we've placed here. Well, each one of them represents a market robbery. Now, notice that every one of them is on a main thoroughfare. See? Manchester, South Broadway, Vernon, South Hoover. Now, I don't have to tell you that that's where you'll have to keep a sharp watch on the main street. Each of the individual units here on the map will be covered by one car, as I said. Each one roughly 9 blocks square. Now, you'll be responsible for the area assigned to you. We haven't got too much time, so before we go down the list to assign the areas, have you got any questions? Any questions at all?
Yeah. Suppose there's a 211 call in somebody else's area. I mean, other than the one you're assigned to. Do we leave our area and head over there?
No, Jeff, I meant to bring that out. If there's a robbery call in somebody else's area, stay put till you get a call to lend a hand. Anything else?
Yeah, how about the managers of these markets? They've been briefed on a stakeout. They know we're going to be covering the area?
Yeah, they've all been alerted. Now, in case of a holdup, they might try to contact you directly. They'll be looking for you. You'll be looking for them. Is that it, Bob? Just have it for you?
Well, yeah, but I'm just wondering about this number 2 suspect, the one who drives the getaway car.
Yeah.
Well, it says here the dope sheet number 1 suspect carries a nickel-plated revolver. Now, how about number 2? He carry a gun?
Well, I wish I could answer that. We don't know. All the information we got on him is on the sheet right there.
I see. Well, they never try any rough stuff anyway, do they? No gunplay. They never hurt anyone.
No, not yet. Don't let him make you the first. 7:30 a.m. We finished handing out the assignments, and the men left to take up their stakeout positions in the south end of the city. 2 men to a team, each team in a 3-way radio car, each car to patrol a designated 9-square block unit. There were 20 such units within the frame of the overall stakeout area. At the same time, cruiser cars from the sheriff's office, operating on their own radio setup, began patrolling the fringe positions which fell in county territory. Through Control 1 at our communications division, we kept in continual contact with them. 8 a.m. All the cars were in position, each of them patrolling their individual 9-square block unit. The first 2 hours passed. No reports, no sign of a market bandit. Between 10 a.m. and noon, half a dozen possible suspects were stopped and questioned by different teams and then brought to the 77th Street Division for processing. All of them were eliminated. The afternoon of the first day went pretty much the same. We had shakedowns on 4 parked cars in the area and more shakedowns on possible suspects. Nothing materialized. The next morning, Ben and I, along with the other 32 men in the stakeout, picked up where we left off. Again, no sign of the suspects, no report. The morning of the third day, the stakeout detail met in the squad room as usual and then left to take up their regular assigned positions. 7:35 a.m.
How about it, Joe? You ready to go?
Yeah, just a minute. Okay, let's go. I'll get it.
Okay.
Robbery Friday. Yeah. Where? When was that? Yeah, right away. Oh, come on, we gotta hurry.
What is it?
Market bandits. Maybe we got them. 7:50 a.m. Ben and I arrived at the intersection of 58th and San Pedro Street. 2 of our stakeout cruiser cars were pulled up at the southwest corner. One of the teams was Jess Gonzalez and his partner Frank Estrada. Gonzalez briefed us on what had happened.
Victim's the owner of the supermarket down the block in San Pedro. He was walking from his house to the store, and he passed the corner here about 7:35 a.m. Had $340 on him. Part of yesterday's receipts from the store. They got him right up the street there, took every dollar of it.
You sure it was a market bandit?
An MO description, they check out all the way. We had 2 teams on as soon as we got the word. Located a holdup car a minute ago.
Where is it?
Down on Avalon Boulevard.
Well, how about the thieves, Jess?
Car was empty, no trace of him.
It's a very good aerobic exercise to play John Adams music.
David Howard, clarinetist, Los Angeles Philharmonic.
His music is all about locomotion. He uses the orchestra as a machine, in the best sense. And we are little pistons in this engine. But boy, when all those pistons are working right, it's quite an effect.
Join David and the entire Los Angeles Philharmonic for an electrifying concert experience as composer John Adams conducts 2 of his own works, the Nixon Tapes and Century Rolls, featuring celebrated pianist Emanuel Axe. 3 performances beginning February 2nd. Tickets start at just $10 and are available at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion box office, online at laphil.org, or call Ticketmaster today at 213-365-3500. Los Angeles Philharmonic.
This is music that you can measure in megawatts. We've got a musical answer to the energy crisis coming with this concert.
It's been said 1 is a lonely number. So the 2 Paradise Chevrolet superstores, Paradise Chevrolet Temecula and Paradise Chevrolet Ventura, have come together with what else but 2 great offers to close out January. Now you can lease a 2001 extended cab Silverado B truck at a great lease of only $199 plus tax per month. Or lease a 2001 Chevy Tahoe at an equally great lease deal of only $299 plus tax per month from Paradise Chevrolet Ventura and Paradise Chevrolet Temecula. That's $199 plus tax per month lease on an extended cab 2001 automatic Silverado with loads of Vortec V8 power and air, or $299 plus tax per month lease on a 2001 Tahoe LS with all the bells and whistles. The Paradise 1-800-281-4412 for Paradise Chevrolet Temecula. 800-281-4412. For Paradise Chevrolet Ventura, it's 1-888-5-CHEVY-5. 888-5-CHEVY-5. Ventura Auto Center, Temecula Auto Mall.
36-month Silverado lease with $6,200 down and 36-month Tahoe lease with $7,000 down. Both leases on approval of credit. 12K allowable miles per year, 20 cents for each excess mile. Chevy will be there.
Only weeks ago, KIBM News Radio.
Saturday, 8:05 a.m. The latest victim of the market bandits, the owner of the supermarket on San Pedro Street, was taken to the 77th Street Division where the crime report was made. He told us that one of the men who robbed him bore a very close resemblance to the composite picture which we'd had drawn up of one of the suspects. We figured we missed grabbing the hold-up men by a matter of minutes. Even though some of our units were in the general area at the time of the robbery, it did little good. The victim had delayed reporting the hold-up for a full 5 minutes because the bandits had threatened to find him and kill him if he did. Despite the fact that they'd changed their M.O. to the extent of robbing the store owner on the street instead of in the market proper, we had no doubt that the same two men we were looking for had committed the hold-up. The abandoned car which they'd used in the robbery was gone over for fingerprints, but it was clean. Meantime, the stakeout went on. Saturday passed. Sunday, Monday, nothing. No leads on the suspects, not a trace of them. Tuesday, the same thing all over again. The operation settled down to a dull routine. Tuesday night, we checked the closing of the last market in our stakeout area. 10:45 p.m. Ben and I drove back to the 77th Street Division.
Every day seems to get a little longer. These lousy stakeouts sure don't wear very well on them.
Yeah, I don't know what the staff's going to be if we don't get a break pretty soon. We can't hang on to the gang for Metro Division forever.
Sure has been a bad month. All I need now is a visit from the in-laws. Yeah. That'd do it up fine.
You talked to Jess at dinner, didn't you?
Yeah.
What did he say about those two men they picked up on South Main this afternoon?
They brought them in for processing, checked them out. Couldn't find anything wrong. Both of them clean.
Mm-hmm. Fine.
Yeah. How about grabbing something to eat after we check out?
Okay. You want to stop by Johnny Coken?
What about a French dip sandwich? How's that sound? Haven't had one for a long time.
All right, suits me.
How was that? Oh, sorry, I know. Oh, wait a minute. He just came in. It's for you, Friday. Turn in from the sheriff's office.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Bob. Friday talking. Yeah, Dick. Just now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll be over right away.
You got anything?
Market bandits pulled a hold-up a couple of minutes ago in a store on Graham Avenue, Dalton County territory.
Yeah?
One of the sheriff's units took the call, chased the hold-up car 2 miles.
They get the thieves?
Well, you're half right.
Huh?
They got one of them. 10:52 p.m. Ben and I drove to the sheriff's Firestone substation where the market bandit suspect was taken after his apprehension. When we got there, we talked to Deputy Sheriff Sergeants Eddie Jones and Mel Viney, who had made the arrest. They said they arrived at the scene of the holdup, the market on Graham Avenue, a few moments after the bandits pulled away in their stolen Nash sedan. Jones and Viney gave chase, but when they finally forced the holdup car to a halt, the driver was the only one in the car. Somewhere along the route of the 2-mile chase, the second robbery suspect had succeeded in jumping out, along with the loot taken in the robbery and making good his escape. A broadcast in the bulletin was gotten out immediately. The holdup suspect they'd apprehended had been fingerprinted, and they were checking on his identification downtown. Ben and I went in to talk to him. Jones and Viney stood by while we questioned him.
I still don't know what it's all about. The property clerk will give you an itemized receipt for everything you have on you. Take everything out of your wallet now. Put it out in there.
You're making a pretty big thing out of nothing, aren't you? I haven't done anything.
You want to check those things from his wallet, Ben? The cards and some of those papers?
Yeah.
This your true name on this card here? Grant V. Jameson, is that right?
That's right.
This your present address?
Yeah.
You ever been arrested before?
Why you ask that?
It's not going to take too much time to find out. You might as well tell us.
We still don't know what this is all about. I was speeding a little, that's all. I haven't done anything.
No, you're kidding yourself, Jameson. We got everything on you that we need. What do you think you're going to gain by stalling us?
You must have me mixed up with somebody else. I don't know what you're getting at.
This card here you took out of your wallet, you recognize it?
Why?
These names and addresses you've got jotted down on the back of it. Mind checking them out for?
I don't know what you mean.
Take a look. These here. Whose addresses are they? Who are the people?
Let's see. No, I don't think I even remember them. Just something I scribbled down, that's all.
You don't even remember one of them?
No, I don't think so. Why do you ask?
Why don't you come off it, mister?
What are you talking about?
You know what we're talking about. You know it as well as you know your own name. 14 robberies down here in 28 days. You're picked up in the hold-up car after the last try tonight. Your partner gets away. Now, you go right on kidding yourself, Jameson. Play it real close. You see how far it gets you.
I sure wish I knew what you were talking about. I don't know a thing about any robberies.
All right, then you stand by, mister. You're going to know a lot more about him. You're going to know a lot in a hurry.
Yeah?
Just as soon as we pick up your partner. 12:20 a.m. We continued to question the suspect, Grant Jameson, but he refused to admit anything, even the fact that he'd stolen the car that he'd been apprehended in. The only strong lead we could pick out from the articles found on his person was the list of 4 names and addresses jotted on the back of a card found in his wallet. 12:30 a.m. Ben and I left the substation and drove to the address Jameson had told us was his present residence, an apartment house on Vernon Avenue. The manager told us he'd moved at least a year ago without leaving a forwarding address. 1 a.m., we began checking out the list of 4 names and addresses which we'd found in the suspect's wallet. The first was a Jack Williams. His address, a Spring Street rooming house. The landlady told us he'd moved to Cleveland, Ohio 3 months before. The second was a John Gallagher. His address, a third-rate hotel in East Hollywood. He hadn't been registered there in the past 2 months. The third was a Matthew Sanford. His address turned out to be an apartment house in the Crenshaw district.
Want a price to light on the mailboxes over here, Joe?
Yeah. Here you go. You see the name there?
Yeah, here it is. M.L. Sanford. That ought to be apartment 5.
All right. Let's try it. Front door open?
Thanks. Yeah, let's go. Number 5. Should be down this way, I guess. Number 5.
Okay, let's give it a try. Grant, that you?
Police officers. You, Matthew Sanford?
Get out of here. All right, hit it, Ben. Yeah. All right, come on. Put the gun down. Drop it.
I got it, Joe. All right, get your hands out.
I'll cover it. Look around, huh?
All right.
What is this anyway? What's the idea?
You tell us. You pulled the gun.
You got no business in here. You got no right.
All right, you just stand still. We'll explain it downtown.
Money sacks, Joe. Found them in the desk. Same market they hit tonight.
All right, Sanford.
You got nothing from me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Get his coat, will you, Ben?
Yeah.
What are you trying to build, anyway? You haven't got anything on me?
14 robberies, mister. That's what we got on you.
You think you got proof?
We got it.
Yeah?
14 victims. Come on, let's go.
The story you have just heard was the name of the innocent.
The bandit suspects, Grant Burton Jameson and Matthew Roy Sanford, were tried and convicted on 14 counts of first-degree robbery and received sentences as prescribed by law. First-degree robbery is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary from 5 years to life. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American Broadcasting Company brings to its entire network one of radio's most unusual programs.
Pat Novak, for hire.
Sure. I'm Pat Novak. For hire.
There's a sign out in front of my office reads that way. Pat Novak for hire. Oh, there's no way to dress it up. If you're in business down on the San Francisco waterfront, everything but murder is a parlor trick. If you rob a few graves, you can pay the rent, and nobody cares if you got sore eyelids. You get that way from winking at too many things. Well, it's a good living if you don't run short of bail bonds and Benzedrine. I discovered that Friday night. After the fight broadcast, I wound up in a little whiskey barrel on Powell Street. I had a Glasgow farmer out of the red when they closed the bar, and I drifted across the street for a cup of coffee. When I came out, it was raining and the street was deserted. I stood in the doorway and watched the dull neons through the rain. They looked splotched and dim, like watercolors rubbed with a damp rag. It was beginning to rain harder, and I started out of the doorway when she ducked in and bumped up against me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just wait for your blockers on the next one.
I guess I bumped into you.
Don't go out on a limb.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I guess I didn't know where I was going.
You seem to be headed in the right direction.
How do you mean?
Forget I noticed.
It's raining awfully hard. I wonder if you ever noticed how...
When it rains, you feel lonely and lost?
Yes. Yes, that's it. How when it rains, you feel lonely and lost.
Yeah, well, we're both great readers, so if you'll let me get by, I want to get a cab.
Yes, I wonder if I could ask you something funny.
The bars are closed.
No, I meant coffee. I'll pay for it.
All right?
In here?
Sure. Come on. The counter will do.
All right.
What's it gonna be? Hey, you back again?
Yeah, 2 coffees.
How come?
I'm nervous. 2 coffees.
You like a bear claw, maybe?
You know what we want?
2 coffees?
Yeah.
Be right with you.
Thank you. I know it's funny asking you in here, but I have to talk to someone. I don't know what I'm doing.
I won't argue.
I've been away a long time. Guess a long time.
Yeah, the kids will be glad to see you back.
Huh?
Stop it, will you, sis? Get to the point. Put the show on the road.
Yes. I think I've lost my memory. At least it seems that way at first.
Who are you?
I don't know. I suppose you don't believe it.
No, but I convince hard.
Here you are. 2 coffees. Everything all right?
Yeah, everything's fine.
I'll be down here if you need anything else.
You thought up a name yet, Buster?
You'd be crazy to believe me. I guess you'd be crazy, but I can't remember anything. I guess...
Now, look, lady, if you got amnesia, see the police.
But you don't believe me.
I don't know. Maybe you are, Leveling. But if you're off your rocker, go to the police.
But suppose there's something that happened before and the police would be looking for me. Please, would you try to help me?
How bad are you? Do you know what town you're in?
Yes.
Have you been here before? Do you live here?
I think maybe. Seems like a place I've been.
All right, I'll put you in a cab. You go see the police.
No. I feel funny. I think I'll go outside for a minute. I don't want Hilda to know. Please, I'm going to follow police. Help me.
Mister, your girlfriend's on the floor.
Yeah, any suggestions?
No, she's your date.
All right, here, give me a hand with it.
What way you going to take her?
The hospital. She's an amnesia case.
I hope your memory's good.
Huh?
You'll need it for answers. Your girlfriend's passed out for good.
Don't tell me.
Feel her pulse, mister. You're going to have to start over because she's all used up.
Oh, that's good. You got a wailing wall?
Sure. Use the counter while I call homicide.
It didn't take 20/20 vision to see I was in trouble. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't. I didn't have any idea why she keeled over there, but with a figure like hers, I knew it wasn't old age. That call to homicide meant Hellman was going to be in the picture soon, and then I'd stand about as much chance as a cornfield and a stone quarry. Well, I went through the girl's stuff. She had no identification. There were a couple of snapshots of her, but no name. I told the waiter my name and where Hellman could find me. Then I got out of there. I looked up Jocko Madigan, an ex-doctor who liked his booze pretty well. Smart guy, but he used a mason jar for a jigger. I finally found him holed up in some after-hours joint on Geary Street. He was talkative.
Hello, Patsy. A small jug for Mr. Novak, waiter.
I want to talk to you, Jocko.
Patsy, you shouldn't be here. It's after hours.
Yeah, look, Jocko, I need some help. What do you know about amnesia?
Oh, a temporary blessing. I thought I had it myself once.
Stop it, will you?
But it just turned out to be a case of bad bourbon. A peasant's drink, I've decided.
Get up the street level long enough for me to talk. I'm in trouble.
Yes?
I met some blister tonight who took a dive after 1 cup of coffee.
Oh, I see.
She had amnesia, or she thinks she did.
Oh, she's dead. Why worry about amnesia? It's a minor ailment.
Because Hellman's going to think I had something to do with it. She picked out my lap. Don't you see how it's going to add up?
I have high hopes.
I got to do something in a hurry.
Was she a nice girl?
Yes, I guess so.
How come you met her?
What difference does it make? Tell me about amnesia. Could she phony it?
Maybe. Not for long. What makes you think she did?
I don't know. She acted like a butterfly with a jag on, and she headed straight for me. It just doesn't add.
No. What cell block can I find you in?
You can get off your spine and go to work for me. You know the hospital circuit. Hit them all and find out everything you can about recent amnesia cases.
Well, how far back do I go?
Until you find one that jives with this girl.
It's impossible. Where do I start? I feel like Noah when they told him to beat the flood.
She's blonde, blue eyes, expensive clothes.
How big?
Just the right size for a good dream. Start checking now and give me a ring at my place.
No identification?
None. She only said one thing when she fell.
Oh, something crude?
No, she mentioned a gal by the name of Hilda.
That should be easy to trace.
Sure.
Just look it up in the phone book. You will find it somewhere between Hellman and homicide. Right, lover?
Well, there wasn't anything I could do for the next few hours except sublet from an ostrich. I had to keep undercover because all I had to work on was a couple of snapshots and a girl named Hilda. Neither figured to get me out of this mess. Hellman was bound to ask a lot of questions because I had as much business being with a dead girl as Lucky Luciano in a finishing school. After I left Jocko, I took a C-car downtown and I went home to grab some sleep. When I walked in the apartment, the lights were out, but that didn't make any difference. Hellman's badge was shining like a lake in Ireland. He was making himself at home with my ice cubes.
Hello, Novak. Put the light on so I can watch you turn pale.
All right, Hellman, get to the point.
Sure. Who was your girlfriend?
I don't know. She was the coy type.
So are you, Novak. You're going to look good sucking your thumb in the gas chamber.
I suppose your coroner is full of good news.
She died of an overdose of sleeping pills. The coroner's report is murder.
How about the space mark suicide?
No dice. You don't take sleeping pills, then tour the town for a spot to take a nap.
So she died in a coffee joint. What am I supposed to do, carry a stomach pump?
You're supposed to tell me who she is. We'll go from there.
I don't know. Neither did she.
I've got that down as a lie.
You file it any way you want, Hellman. She was amnesia.
So are you, Novak.
All right, hire a medium then. I told you. She came into the restaurant a total stranger. We got social, but she died a total stranger.
How are you going to prove it?
I don't know. If I knew who she was, I wouldn't play footsie with you. Do I have to draw a map? She came in trying to sort out her marbles and never got there.
I see.
What did you find out? How about clothes markings?
That's your department.
How about laundry marks?
I don't know. I guess she washed her own. Look, Novak, you're a big boy now. You're in a spot. If you want to help, now's the time to do it.
You got everything I know. From here on, you work the ball downfield.
All right. You just answer the doorbell from time to time. When you see a guy grinning out there, that'll be me coming to pinch you for murder.
Well, that'll take lots of doing, mister, and lots of proof. You remember that.
I'll try, Novak. But I may get amnesia. Good night, big shot.
When Hellman left, I backed into my headache and went to bed. Oh, sure, I was in a spot now. The scorecard said murder, and I was the medalist on the first round. If the police didn't know who she was, that meant she had no record we could work on. I still had the funny hunch about that gal pulling a phony. But if it was phony, I was worse off. I had all the best arrows in town pointing to me, and once Hellman began to build a case, I could throw away those vacation folders. I slept until about 9. The phone began to ring, and I rolled over expecting to hear Gabriel on the other end of the line. It was just Jocko. Hello, Novak talking.
This is Jocko. I've been working all night.
We'll build a monument later. What'd you find out?
The morning paper says the girl was murdered.
Yeah, Hellman gave me a preview. What'd you find out at the hospitals?
I've got a complete list of amnesia victims. I know more lost souls than a Hong Kong bartender.
Yeah?
Most of them men. Trying to get away from the little woman.
Well, you're a big help, Jocko.
Don't hang up till you hear about the girl.
Go ahead.
Nothing on file for the last 8 years. In 1941, a 17-year-old girl walked out of California General Hospital. She hasn't been heard of since.
How's the description?
Oh, it fits like last year's bathing suit. She was Marcia Halpern, the daughter of Emery Halpern.
Yeah? Who's he?
A pocket-heavy guy down on Montgomery Street.
I'll get right down there. Thanks, Jocko. You saved my life.
Well, I hadn't intended to go that far. See you later.
Well, it was my one chance, even if the odds looked bad. I called up Halpern's office. They said he wasn't in, to try him at home. It was listed for a place up on Pacific Heights, so I took a cab over there. When I walked in the lobby, I could tell old man Halpern was making as much money as you can without your own printing press. The apartment made Buckingham Palace look like something George had picked up at a fire sale. The doorman was a sober-looking specimen, the kind of guy that breathes every other Tuesday. He gave me the fisheye as I went up the elevator to the third floor. Halpern's apartment was at the east end. The butler showed me in, and I waited in the living room. It was a real cozy place, about the size of a small rugby field. A door opened on the side, and 200 pounds of Regency oozed into the room like a wet ghost.
Good morning. I'm Mr. Taylor.
I'm Novak. Where's Halpern?
Well, Mr. Halpern is away on a business trip. I'm Mark Taylor, the family lawyer. I believe that's the phrase.
Oh. Well, I'll drop by later, huh?
Perhaps I can help you. I take care of most of Mr. Halpern's business now.
Did you know his daughter?
Yes. It was quite tragic.
That's what I hear.
She was a victim of amnesia. She forgot all the details of her home.
Must have been a temptation. Did the police ever do anything on her?
The police were not advised. Mr. Halpern hired private detectives, but she was never found. Yes, it was quite tragic.
You wear your mourning a long way, Taylor. She'd be about 25 now, wouldn't she? Taffy hair, blue eyes, nice figure.
I believe she had leanings in that direction. Why, Mr. Novak?
I think I may know where she is.
You don't know what that would mean to this family, Mr. Novak.
You don't know what it would mean to me, Mr. Taylor. Here's a snapshot.
Let me see it.
Well, Taylor, this is not a B movie.
This is a picture of Marcia Halpern.
You sure?
I don't make many mistakes, Mr. Novak.
All right, if you've used up your quota. She's downtown.
I'll get in touch with Mr. Halpern right away.
No, take your time. She's dead.
When?
Last night, she got sleepy.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Somebody gave her enough sleeping pills to stock a drugstore.
I see. After all these years, to come back, and then this. It was
most tragic?
Yes, I was about to say that. It'll be a great blow to Mr. Halpern. It'll be a very great blow to Mr. Halpern. Have the police any ideas?
A few. Do you know anybody named Hilda?
No, why?
Just sweeping out the corners. When's Halpern due?
This afternoon. I'll arrange an... Excuse me, please.
All right.
Hello, this is Mark Taylor. No, that can't be right. Well, when did it happen? Yes. Yes, please keep me advised.
You ought to wear a purple suit, Taylor.
I have bad news, Mr. Novak. Brace yourself.
I'm lightheaded. Go ahead.
Mr. Halpern was killed in a motor accident last night. His car plunged down a ravine near Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
That's very strange.
Yeah. That must have been a great blow to Mr. Halpern. I left there and went downstairs. All the way down, I had the funny feeling that something was wrong, the way a person feels when he goes into a doctor's office with an incurable disease. It may have been Taylor. I don't know. He seemed all right, but I still had that feeling that something was out of place, like a broken line in a perfect picture. I crossed the street and called Hellman. It was too early in the day because he was as sad as a tap dancer in moccasins.
Hellman talking.
This is Novak. How's the case?
You look better every minute.
How's the identification?
We're moving slow. So far, we know she's a woman.
That's right. Her name's Marcia Halpern. She disappeared in 1941 with amnesia.
San Francisco?
Yeah. She's the daughter of Emery Halpern.
We'll check with old man Halpern.
You better send your best man because he rolled a car and killed himself last night.
Where?
Sacramento.
I got news for you, too.
Yeah?
We got a statement from that waiter.
Who wrote it?
He says you brought that girl in for coffee. Also, you were nice and chummy.
I knew her for 5 minutes.
With you, that's a lifetime. The guy said you were good friends. That's the way our story's going to read.
You suit yourself. I'm busy.
Yeah? Where you going?
Same place you are, Hellman, Sacramento. If I didn't move fast, I was deader than a Philadelphia nightclub. When they start taking statements, you can wire for flowers. I called Jocko and told him to check up on old man Halpern's estate. I borrowed a car and drove up to Sacramento. The accident was just outside of there. When I got to the spot, Hellman was already in charge. He's going to make a fight for the job at Last Judgment. They were down in the ravine, and Hellman was beating around the bushes, making more noise than a Venetian blind in a typhoon. Hello, Hellman. Did you find anything?
Get your own haystack. I'm busy.
Where's the body?
You get the blues if you don't see one corpse today. He's up in town.
Did you notice those tracks up there in the road?
Yeah. Double tracks don't mean a thing.
Oh, sure. Maybe 2 cars fell down and one got lost. Wake up, Hellman. If he drove over the side, he sure had a tough time making up his mind.
When you're through on that pipe, I'll send over another. I'm going over to the car.
Hellman went over to the car, and I started looking through the bushes. I don't know what I expected to find. Maybe an old Boy Scout. After about 10 minutes, I shifted over to the other side, and it showed up right near the ground under a bush. Hellman must have seen me because he came right over.
Hey, what is it? What'd you find?
A handkerchief.
Oh.
That's funny.
What's funny about it, too? It's a handkerchief. The old man had a nose, didn't he?
Well, he must have loved it then. His hanky's loaded with perfume. Take a whiff here.
Yeah. Recognize it?
Sure. I don't know about you, but I smell a rat. Things began to move. This was the first break, and Hellman knew it. I went back to town, and I tried to get in touch with Jocko, but he was running up a tab somewhere, so I drove over to see Mark Taylor again. When I got to the apartment, I found out he wasn't in, but the pinch hitter was all right. When she opened the door, I got a nice warm feeling like a melted cheese sandwich. She was standing there in a dark silk evening gown. It was strapless, and she had no worries. When she spoke, it was like saying, put another log on the fire.
Good evening.
Taylor in here?
Won't you come in?
Sure.
Mr. Taylor won't be in for a while. I'm waiting for him myself.
I see. I'm Pat Novak.
Is it urgent? Anything I can do?
If it were, you'd get my vote. Who are you?
I'm Hilda Travis. I'm a friend of the family.
Which family?
Would a drink take off the rough edges, Mr. Novak?
It might.
Good. I'll make one.
I brought Taylor a present.
How nice. A girdle, maybe? Or am I being catty?
No, a handkerchief. This one. Do you like it?
Should I?
I thought you might want it for a keepsake. I found it in a ditch up in Sacramento about 10 feet from Emery Halpern.
Poor Emery. Here's a drink.
Thanks. Poor Emery. It's full of perfume. You want to smell?
That wouldn't do any good. You want to know if it matches my perfume.
It's your idea.
Go ahead.
All right.
No, closer. That's it. See?
Yeah.
It's early in the evening, Mr. Novak. Don't blow a fuse.
I won't until I find out who killed Marcia Halpern.
Good luck, for everybody's sake. By the way, the police think you killed her, don't they?
Did Taylor brief you?
A little.
I asked him this morning if he knew a girl named Hilda.
He must have forgotten.
Yeah, everybody's got amnesia. Just to make things easy, did you kill her?
Just to make them hard, did you?
I see. Well, just tell Taylor I called.
And don't be a savage, Mr. Novak. You haven't finished your drink. And it's raining outside.
I'll finish this one.
That's good. Sit down beside me here. We'll finish our drinks and pray for a cloudburst.
She turned out to be an old-fashioned girl. She had about 8 of them before I got out of there. I tried to pump her, but she wouldn't talk about Marcia Halpern. I just became a family friend. After I left, I ducked into a drugstore and started phoning Jocko. I finally caught him at the hunt room. He'd worked his way below the label already.
Hello, Patsy. I'm having a wonderful time.
Yeah, what'd you find out?
I just heard a funny story.
It's old. What about Halpern?
He barely changed his will after the girl died. The whole estate goes to her.
Who's next in line?
A fellow named Mark Taylor. That's the new part of the will, drawn up 3 weeks ago.
Good boy, Jocko.
So I looked up the dope on Mark Taylor. He's a family friend.
It's a new club. Go on.
Looks all right. Some funny bank book stuff, though.
For instance?
Well, he drew $3,000 out last month for a Lisbon passage. A girl named Helen Dupre. Maybe she's a foreign cinema discovery.
Oh, he's no talent scout. Meet me down in Homicide in 10 minutes, Jocko. If we're lucky, we'll show Hellman something.
What?
How to draw to an inside straight. Hurry up and don't stop for a bracer.
Well, just don't smell my breath. See you soon, Robert.
I'd explained everything I could to Hellman when Jocko got there. I went over it for him and sent him out on an errand. He was to meet Hellman and come up to Taylor's apartment. I went on ahead. It was about 11 o'clock when I knocked on the door.
Mr. Novak, so soon.
Yeah, I'm coming in. Hello, Taylor.
I won't say you're wearing out your welcome, Mr. Novak, but it's getting very thin.
You better take time out and pack your bags.
Is that nice, Patsy?
Because a guy named Hellman wants you for murder.
We've been over that once, Mr. Novak.
Yeah, but we got a whole new infield this time. Hellman thinks you killed a girl named Helen Dupre.
I don't know a girl named Helen Dupre.
The bank vouchers say yes. They say you brought her over here 6 weeks ago.
Wait a minute, Patsy.
Oh, you made the team too, Angel. They got you all fixed up for old man Halpern's case up in Sacramento.
Get out of here, Novak.
I left a drink here.
Find a bar there.
Get out of here. I wouldn't want to jam this gun through your face.
Come on in, Hellman. Did you bring him with you?
Yeah. Come in here, fella. Is that the girl? Yeah, that's her.
Where'd you see her before?
Sacramento last night.
He's crazy. It's a plant, Mark.
Tell him more, Junior. You sure she's the one?
Yeah, she was on the road, and I seen her at the car with this old fella.
Hang on, lady. The road gets bumpy from here on.
My lights were out, so I guess she didn't see me.
Take this little guy out of here.
I got a story. I seen you hit the old fella, then start the car down the bank.
I didn't hit him on the head. I told you that, Mark.
Yes, you did.
Tell him, Mark. Tell him I was here.
How can I when you tipped our mitt?
That's right, Taylor. Get out while you can.
Tell him I was here, Mark.
Oh, you little fool. Don't you know you've told them already?
You're a bum guy, Mark. You've been a bum guy all along.
I keep my mouth shut.
I'll give you a chance to talk. I'll tell you about him, Novak.
Shut up, you little half-wit.
You're all right on the straightaway, but you're a bad guy on the curves, Mark.
Keep still,
For
Angel.
a tin-horn punk like you, I'll talk lots.
You'd better say it fast.
Yeah. You get any prize in the house, Taylor. Take your choice.
Are you working for a living, Hellman?
Yep.
All right, then, let's go.
Yeah. See you downtown, Novak.
Is she all right, Jocko?
I'm out of practice.
Well, Patsy,
You like it this way, baby?
no complaints. I've always gone first class. I wouldn't like it the other way.
Yeah.
I could have used a little more time, but I'm not greedy. Still raining out, Patsy.
No. It stopped raining. It's beginning to clear up and over. Come on, Jocko. I'm talking to myself. Well, it seems that Marcia Halpern was dead for years. Somewhere on the other side, a girl named Helen Dupre got the story out of her. She looked a lot like Marcia Halpern, so she waited until after the war and contacted this Mark Taylor. They cooked up a hoax, and the pot boiled over. She was supposed to fake amnesia and stumble into the hospital. The pictures in the wallet would be printed. Mark would identify her as Marcia Halpern. The same night they planned to kill the old man the way they did. That way, Helen Dupre and Mark could split the dough. But they figured it wrong. Another girl named Hilda Travers had the story, too. She put the squeeze on Mark, and he blundered. He found out he didn't need a phony Marcia Halpern after all. The new clause in the will gave Mark the dough. So he loaded Helen Dupre with sleeping pills, while Hilda gave the old man his last ride. All he had to do was wait for the dough and then split with Hilda. A few things went wrong. Sometimes it only takes one. Helen did her part, but she was no Bernhard. And then at the last minute, she knew something was wrong and mentioned Hilda. I kind of began to wonder when Mark identified that picture so fast. After more than 8 years, he identified it immediately. And then there was that handkerchief. From there in, it was freewheeling. All we had to have was a witness. Well, that guy from Sacramento? Well, he was some actor that Jocko picked up in the hunt room. Hellman finally cleaned up the mess. Taylor's in the clink, and of course, the girl already picked up her end of the check. She was nice, too, if you don't mind claw marks. Well, It all worked out, and Hellman's happy, except that actor keeps calling him up for parts.
The American Broadcasting Company has just brought you the third of a new series, Pat Novak for Hire, starring Jack Webb. Jocko Madigan is played by Jack Lewis. Inspector Hellman is played by Raymond Burr. Music was composed and conducted by Basim Ablum.
This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight in Miami, Florida, a group of men are gathered together for their annual conference, for their day-in, day-out service to the public. Dragnet honors the 58th Annual Conference of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. The story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A wealthy retired businessman suddenly disappears. You've got two possibilities to work on: suspicion of suicide, suspicion of foul play. There's no lead to the man's whereabouts. Your job? Find him. The latest Fatima sales report shows thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers are switching to Fatima.
More and more smokers coast to coast are finding in Fatima the difference is quality.
You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Next time, insist on the best. Buy king-size Fatima in the distinctive golden yellow package.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, February 6th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the record bureau, and it was 11:18 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Joe?
Hi. She show up yet?
Yeah, a couple of minutes ago. She's waiting for us now in the next room.
Did you talk to her at all?
No. Seems to be a nice enough woman. I don't know how much help she's going to be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
Miss Banner, I'd like to have you meet my partner, Sergeant Friday. Joe, this is Miss Banner.
Hello. I'm sorry I wasn't home when you stopped by yesterday, Sergeant. I got the card you left, though. I called in as soon as I got home.
Well, thanks for coming in, Miss Banner. We have a few questions we'd like to ask you. It won't take very long.
We have a communication from a Gladys Dillon back in New York, Miss Banner. It's about her brother, Chester Dillon. We understand you rented his home from him out on Ralston Avenue.
Mr. Dillon? Well, yes, I've got a 2-year lease on the house. I rented it from him last November.
Well, according to the letter we got from Mr. Dillon's sister, she's worried about him. She hasn't heard from him in some time. Have you any idea where we could contact him?
Well, the last I heard, he left on a trip to New York. That was about 8 weeks ago, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I usually sent the check for the rent, the apartment he had here, and when he left on his trip, he told me to hold on to the rent checks, and he'd collect them when he got back.
How long did he say he'd be gone?
I don't remember definitely. I think he said 4 or 5 months.
He didn't leave any forwarding address, any place you could contact him back east?
No, he didn't. He just wanted to get away. Didn't want to be bothered with anyone. He wasn't feeling very well. He was very depressed, poor man.
Well, why was that, ma'am? Do you know?
Well, his wife died just a few months ago, you know.
No, ma'am, we didn't know. All we got from his sister was that she hadn't heard from Dillon. She was worried. She didn't give us any other information.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Dillon died in last September, I think it was. Poor man felt terrible about it. Couldn't seem to get over it. That's why he rented the house to me. Reminded him too much of her.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Lovely home they have.
Mr. Dillon said he really didn't want to rent it, but he couldn't stand being alone in the house. It was a large place, you know.
Yes, ma'am. We checked with the people living in the house now. We understand you leased the place to them last month?
I subleased it, yes. You see, it just got too big for me. It was nice at first, but it got to be an awful lot of work. I rented it to this family and took a smaller house down the street.
Would you happen to know any of Mr. Dillon's friends in the city, Miss Banner? Anyone we could contact who might know where we can locate him?
No, I don't know. He didn't seem to have any friends. He and his wife had only been in the city a year before she died. He was retired, you know.
Yes, ma'am. We talked to some of the neighbors out there. They couldn't tell us much about him.
Well, maybe some of the people he did business with might know something. Have you tried the neighborhood bank out there? I know that's where Mr. Dillon had his account.
No, ma'am, we haven't yet.
Well, I can give you the bank's address. That's about all, though.
That's the only contact you know of?
I'm afraid so, yes. I didn't know much about Mr. Dillon's private affairs. Whenever I talked to him, it seemed the only thing he had on his mind was his wife's death. He couldn't seem to get over it. Seemed like he didn't want to get over it.
You mentioned that when you leased his home, Mr. Dillon took an apartment. Do you happen to have that address, Miss Banner?
Well, I don't have it with me now, but I have it at home. I can call in and give it to you if you like.
If you would, please.
Certainly.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Banner. You have our card. When you hear anything at all from Mr. Dillon, we'd appreciate it if you'd call us.
And surely, I'll call you right away. You think something could have happened to him?
Well, it's possible. We don't know. All we have is a letter from his sister.
It does seem kind of strange, doesn't it? I wasn't feeling too well. I wondered why he hadn't contacted me about sending the rent money to him. He was such a nice man, Mr. Dillon. I certainly hope nothing's happened to him.
Well, you say he was very depressed about his wife's death, ma'am. Would you say that it was getting to be a little abnormal with him, maybe?
Well, I wouldn't know about that, Sergeant, but I didn't know he brooded about it all the time. He felt that he'd lost everything. Didn't seem to want to go on.
Mm-hmm. Did he ever give an indication that maybe he might take his own life? I mean, all this brooding over his wife?
Well, no, nothing definite. Just depressed and moody all the time. Oh, now that I remember it, the last time I saw him, he did say something kind of funny.
Yes, ma'am. What was that?
It was the day before he left. We were talking about the rent money, and I asked him if I couldn't send it to him. He got kind of a strange look on his face.
Yeah.
He said, where I'm going, I won't need the money.
The day before we called on Lucille Banner for an interview, a letter had been received from a Miss Gladys Dillon in Elmira, New York. Her request was routine. It was one of thousands of similar letters received every year by police departments all over the country. Each one of them has to be worked out to the satisfaction of all parties concerned, the person who's reported missing and the person looking for them. It's an enormous job requiring thousands of man-hours annually. Like the dozens of other investigations handled by the police officers, some of them end happily, some of them in tragedy. Whatever the result, the finding of a lost person is just as important a function of your local police department as any other investigation. Gladys Dillon hadn't heard from her brother recently. She was worried about him. She asked us to investigate. Our initial interview with Lucille Banner, the woman who'd rented Chester Dillon's home, failed to yield much of a lead as to his whereabouts. The only source of additional information she could offer was the neighborhood bank where Dillon had his account. 1 o'clock that afternoon, Ben and I drove out to interview the manager of the bank, a Mr. Harrison.
Yes, that's right. Mr. Dillon's had his account with us ever since he came to Los Angeles. I know him quite well. Is there something you'd like to know about him? Yes, sir, there is. We had a request from his sister in New York. She'd like to locate him. Well, I'm pretty sure his account's still open here. Matter of fact, I'm positive it is. This moment, I'll have one of the clerks get his file.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harrison.
That reminds me. I almost forgot.
Yeah, what's that?
I got to get to the bank tomorrow for sure. Payment on my car's a day past due already. Only got 2 payments left.
Oh, you're doing fine. I got another 8 months to go.
Not so fine. 2 more payments to go, and now the wife wants a new one. Never fails. Here we are, Sergeant, just as I thought. Mr. Dillon's account is still open.
Uh-huh. There been any recent deposits or withdrawals on the account?
Let's have a look here. Uh-huh. Just as I thought, nothing since he left on his trip. That last withdrawal date was November 27th. He mentioned to you that he was going on a trip, did he? Yes, I think he said he was going back to New York, more or less a vacation trip. His wife died recently. He didn't take it too well.
Yes, we understand. Did he leave any instructions about his account with you, Mr. Harrison? Any address you could contact him at if you had to?
No, he didn't leave any instructions with me. No address. Just a vacation trip. He said he didn't expect to be gone too long. Did he mention how long it would be? 5 or 6 weeks, I think that's what he said. I happened to talk to him about it because at the time he made quite a sizable withdrawal. I thought maybe he was a little unhappy with our service.
Mm-hmm. How much was the withdrawal, sir?
Let's see. And here it is, November 27th. He withdrew $2,400.
Was that in cash or in traveler's checks? Do you know that?
No, it shows here that it was in cash. Mr. Harrison, you said a minute ago that you knew Mr. Dillon pretty well? Yes, that's right. He used to stop and chat with me whenever he'd come in the bank. That was usually once a week. I didn't know him socially, though. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned he seemed to take his wife's death pretty hard. What would you say his mental condition was the last time you saw him?
All right, I'd say. Just after his wife's death, he wasn't in very good shape. Brooded about it quite a bit. And he began to pull out of it. Seemed to be in a fairly good frame of mind. Planned this vacation. Was looking forward to it.
I see.
Why do you ask? Is something wrong?
No, sir, not that we know of. Routine check. That's about the size of it. Does Dillon have any other real estate besides the house on Ralston Avenue? Would you happen to know that?
Not to my knowledge, no. He has no other business connections in Los Angeles. Here are all his references right here.
Mm-hmm.
See, most of them are charge accounts and so forth. I remember the time he opened his account with us, he told me he was retired. He and his wife came out here for their help.
Do they have any relatives out here? Do you know, Mr. Harrison?
No, from what I understand, both of their families are in the East. They don't have any children, according to his application. Very few relatives.
Mm-hmm. And since Dillon was in here last November to make that withdrawal, you've had no communications from him at all, is that right?
No, sir, I haven't. What seems to be the trouble? You have an idea something might be wrong?
Nothing definite, no, sir. We've been told about his feeling depressed over his wife's death, and there was some indication he might possibly have done away with himself. After what you've told us, it doesn't seem too likely.
I don't know. I wouldn't like to commit myself. As I say, he did seem to be getting over it. I didn't know him that well, though. It might be entirely possible. He was devoted to Mrs. Dillon. Maybe he could have taken his own life. I don't know.
Well, it leaves a big question to answer, doesn't it?
What's that?
Why do you need the $2,400 to do it? 1:25 p.m. We continued interviewing the bank manager, Mr. Harrison, but he was unable to come up with any further leads. Before we left the bank, he gave us a complete list of all of Chester Dillon's references. We gave him our card, and he told us he would pass along immediately any information he might get on the whereabouts of Mr. Dillon. 1:45. We went back to the office where we got a call from Lucille Banner. She gave us Dillon's last known address, and we drove out to check it. It was an apartment court in the Pico Crenshaw area. We talked to the manager, and she told us that Dillon had moved out 3 months before, on November 22nd. He told her that he was moving in with a close friend of his, and he gave her his forwarding address. It turned out to be a single-story frame cottage located in one of the older residential districts of the city. The name on the mailbox read Raymond L. Schaefer. We rang the bell, and a man who identified himself as Raymond Schaefer ushered us into a small living room. He told us that he was from the same town in the east that the Dillons came from, and that he was a long-time friend of theirs.
No, I haven't seen Chester for months. Last November, I think it was. That was the last time I saw him.
You say at that time Dillon was living in the apartment down in the Crenshaw area, Mr. Schaefer?
Yeah, that's right.
You mean he never came here to live with you?
No, it's just like I told you before. He talked about moving in here with me, but he never did. I haven't any idea where he is.
Well, he gave your name here as a forwarding address, Schaefer. Have you been getting his mail?
Yeah, matter of fact, I have. He told me he was going to do that. Never came to pick it up, though. Seemed funny to me.
You're still getting his mail here, is that right?
Yeah, it's still coming. Not much of it. Maybe a letter a week. Mostly bills and advertising.
Mm-hmm. This list of names you've given us, sir, these are all the people in the East Mr. Dillon was acquainted with? People he might contact on his trip back there, is that right?
That's all of them. As far as I know, he hadn't been back there yet, though.
How do you know that?
I got a letter from my sister Gert a couple of days ago. If Chester was in town, Gert would have known about it. He would have been sure to stop by and see her. I wish I could help you. Tell you the truth, I'm getting a little worried about him myself.
Well, just have one more question, Mr. Schaefer. Do you know if Mr. Dillon was in the habit of carrying large sums of money around with him?
No, I don't think so. Chester was pretty cautious that way. He wasn't too free with a dollar, you know.
Would you happen to know if he had a large sum of money with him the last time you saw him?
No, if he did have, he didn't mention it.
I see. You can't think of anything else that might give us a lead on Mr. Dillon's whereabouts, anything at all?
I think I've told you everything. I wish there was something I could tell you that'd help. I sure hope nothing's happened to him.
Yes, sir. Now, would you mind showing us that mail you're holding for Dillon, please?
Oh, sure, sir. Right over here. It's in the desk. There you are. That's all of it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anything, Joe? No, not much. Bills, circulars. Here's one with a New York postmark. Elmira. Probably from his sister. Another one. Only 3 days old. From the Union Department Store. A couple more earlier dates on it. That's about it. Yeah, I'll copy down the return addresses on it. Fine. Mr. Schaefer.
Yeah?
This suitcase by the desk here, initials on it. CLD.
Yeah?
CLD. Is that your bag, Schaefer?
Oh, no, I forgot to tell you. Chester left that here one day.
Hmm? How was that?
Well, that was one day just before he was going to leave on his vacation. He brought it over here and said he'd like to leave it with me. Forgot to mention it to you.
Mm-hmm. Did you bring anything else with him?
Yeah, he brought another suitcase with him, just like this one. I ain't got it in the other room. He said he wanted to leave him here while he was on his vacation. I'm sorry I forgot to mention it.
Well, maybe you forgot something else, Schaefer.
What?
Most people take their suitcases on a trip, don't they? 2:30
4:30 p.m. We continued questioning Raymond Schaefer. We opened the 2 suitcases labeled with the initials of Chester Dillon and found an assortment of personal items which Schaefer told us belonged to Dillon and his late wife. Small pictures, cigarette boxes, books, similar articles which apparently would not be taken on a vacation trip. None of them were of any great value. After we left Schaefer's home, we checked him through R&I and found he had no criminal record. We checked further with friends and acquaintances of both men and found nothing to indicate that Schaefer was in any way involved in the disappearance of Chester Dillon. 3:30 p.m. We called the office and found that there'd been no answer so far to the broadcast and missing persons bulletins that we'd gotten out on Dillon. We started checking the references given us by the bank. First was the Union Department Store. It was located on Main Street in the south end of town. We checked with the credit department to see what information we could get from them.
Yes, here's the file on the Dillons right here. Chester L. and Sarah J. on Ralston Avenue.
Yes, ma'am, that's the one.
What information would you like, sir?
Well, we're trying to locate Mr. Dillon, ma'am. Have you had any recent change of address on that account?
No, we haven't. If they moved, you know.
Well, we believe so. We don't know his present address, though.
Well, we do have an outstanding bill of theirs, I noticed. Sent them several form letters. We've been trying to contact them ourselves.
Have there been any recent charges on that account, do you know?
Let's see. Nothing too recent, no. Last charge was made on December 5th. Yes, Thursday, December 5th.
That's a couple of weeks after he disappeared, Joe.
Yeah, that's right. What was that charge for, ma'am? What did Mr. Dillon buy?
Oh, Mr. Dillon didn't buy anything.
Beg your pardon?
The slip was signed by Mrs. Dillon.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's amazing new offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, return the pack with the unused Fatimas and we'll give you your money back, plus postage.
We make this amazing offer because we believe Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes.
Smokers all over the country are confirming this every day.
Here is the latest state-by-state report.
State 1, Fatima sales up 72%. 2, sales up 54%. 3, sales up 107%. 4, sales up 192%. And those are just a few.
Remember, if you're not convinced Fatima is better than your present king-size cigarette, just return the pack with the unsmoked Fatimas before December 1st and get your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
4:15 p.m., Thursday, February 7th. As soon as the clerk in the credit department at the Union Department Store showed us the sales slip with the late Mrs. Sarah Dillon's signature on it, we had the date on the sales slip double-checked immediately. The date as shown on the slip was correct beyond any doubt, December 5th. That was a little more than 2.5 months after Sarah Dillon had died. Who the person was who forged her signature or why they'd forged it, we had no idea. The amount of the charge purchase as shown on the sales slip was for $418, all of it for women's clothing. We attempted to check with the salesgirl who handled the purchase, a Laura Van Kirk, but we were told it was her day off. We called her home. They told us that she was gone for the day and couldn't be located. They said she'd be at work the following morning. 4:40 p.m., Ben and I took the sales slip with a forged signature on it and drove back to the office. We went directly to forgery detail, briefed them on our findings, and gave them the sales slip. Then we drove back to the home of the Dillon's friend, Raymond Schaefer, and checked through the 2 suitcases there. We came up with a small photo of Mrs. Dillon along with exemplars of her handwriting, as well as her husband's, which we found in an autograph album in one of the suitcases. The handwriting samples were checked against the signature on the sales slip, but neither of them matched. The work of compiling a list of all known female forgery suspects was begun immediately. The following morning, Ben and I went back to the Union Department Store, where we interviewed the salesgirl, Laura Van Kirk, who'd handled the purchase.
Yes, I remember making the sale, officer. I'm not too sure about the woman who bought the things, though. I mean what she looked like.
Well, could you try to describe her for us, Miss Van Kirk, just as well as you can remember?
She had light brown hair, I'm pretty sure of that. Not too old, maybe in her late 30s, early 40s. She was a plain-looking woman, 5'5" or 6", thin as I remember her. She wore glasses, I remember that, too.
I see. You got that picture of Miss Dillon there, Ben?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here you are.
Would you take a look at this picture, miss? Now, does that look like the woman you waited on?
No, No, that's not her. The woman I waited on was much younger. She had light brown hair, too, not gray. Thin face, I think. And she wore glasses, I'm sure of that.
Do you remember if there was a man with her, Miss Van Kirk, or was she alone?
No, she was alone. Now that I remember, there was something very different about the glasses she wore. I don't know if that's important or not.
What about her glasses?
They were horn-rimmed, as I remember, very light color. And there was some metalwork along the top edge of the frame. Very smart-looking. Gold metal all along the top.
Light brown hair, slight build, thin face, late 30s or early 40s. Wore light horn-rimmed glasses and gold metal on the frame.
Yes, that's right.
Check me if I'm wrong, Joe. That description sound familiar?
Just what I was thinking.
Horn-rimmed glasses, metal work on them. The woman who came to see us at the office?
Yeah, you got it. Lucille Banner. Ben and I went back to the office and had Lucille Banner checked through R&I. She had no criminal record. Then we drove to the home on Ralston Avenue, which Chester Dillon had leased to Lucille Banner, and which she in turn had sublet. We obtained a copy of the lease, which the Banner woman had with the current tenants, and which bore her signature. We brought the copy of the lease downtown, gave it to Don Meyer in handwriting, and asked him to compare Lucille Banner's signature with the signature on the sales slip that we'd obtained from the Union Department Store. 15 minutes later, he called us at the office with the results.
Yeah, Don. That's so. You're right. Thanks a lot.
What'd he get?
Says there's no question in his mind.
Yeah.
Both signatures match perfectly.
What the reason was behind Lucille Banner's forging the signature of Mrs. Dillon on the sales slip, we didn't know. Whether or not it had any connection with the disappearance of Chester Dillon, we didn't know. As soon as we got the handwriting report from Don Meyer, Ben and I left the office immediately and drove to the bungalow which the Banner woman was renting on Ralston Avenue. It was a block down the street from the Dillon house. Lucille Banner wasn't at home, but a neighborhood gardener trimming the lawn in front of her house told us that she was expected back shortly. The gardener, who identified himself only as Julio, volunteered that he also did gardening work for Miss Banner when she occupied the Dillon home. He'd also worked for the Dillons when they lived in the house. He told us he liked the Dillons quite a bit, but that he didn't have much use for Miss Banner. He seemed to be up on all the news in the neighborhood. He trimmed the hedges of the lawn with hand shears as we talked to him.
Can you tell us anything about Miss Dillon and Miss Banner, Julio? How'd they seem to get along, you know?
They get along all right, I guess. When I worked at the big house down there for Miss Banner, that's before she moved, I would see Mr. Dillon there. He would be at the house maybe once, 2 times a week. Miss Banner would ask him to come over and cook dinner for him. Miss Banner liked him, I think. Mr. Dillon, I don't know about him. He wasn't feeling so good. Still thinking about his wife. Here, I finish up this clipping now. There, all done.
You mentioned you don't like Miss Banner very much, Julio. Why is that? She ever give you a reason not to like her?
She's a little crazy, I think. Funny woman. When I used to work at the big house for her in the garden, she would watch me all the time, follow me all around, tell me to do all kind of crazy jobs. She gave me good pay, though, so I do them.
And how do you mean, Julio? What kind of crazy job?
The compost box for fertilizer, you know. She wanted me to build one for her in the backyard. That was down the street at the Dillon house. Crazy woman. She wanted me to build a compost box in the greenhouse. They have a special place marked for her. Who ever heard of that, to build a compost box inside a greenhouse? Crazy.
Well, did you build it for her?
Yes, but not inside the greenhouse. I built it outside, right next door to the greenhouse. When she come outside, she'd go crazy almost. Call me names. Crazy. She made me tear it up. Then she made me build it inside the greenhouse, right on the place she had marked for it.
Sounds queer, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. When did all this happen, Julio? Do you remember? When you built the compost box, I mean.
A couple of months ago about that. It was just after Mr. Dillon went away. I tried to tell Miss Banner, who ever heard of a compost box in a greenhouse? She wouldn't listen. She had to have it built in a certain place, right in the greenhouse, a little piece of ground in there. The box had to go right on top of it.
You figure she acted pretty strange about it, do you?
You think she had something there, a little piece of ground. You think she had something to hide.
1:15 p.m. Lucille Banner returned home, and Ben and I went inside the house with her, where we questioned her in the living room. Outside in the front yard, the gardener, Julio, continued working on the lawn. Lucille Banner was calm and composed. We questioned her about the forged signature on the sales slip. She would admit nothing.
The whole thing's too silly to even comment on. I don't know what you're talking about, Sergeant.
We think you do, Miss Banner. Our handwriting man's checked the 2 signatures, one on the sales slip and one on the lease. They both match. They were written with the same person. There's no doubt about it. Been checked thoroughly.
Now, what about it, Miss Banner? There's no way out of it. You ought to know that.
I'll deny it. That's all. I'll keep on denying it. I wasn't in that store and I didn't forge any signatures. Why would I do a thing like that? What kind of a woman do you think I am?
Well, all we know are the facts, ma'am. Now, why don't you give us a straight story? It's going to save time and trouble for everybody concerned.
You've heard everything I've got to say. This thing's ridiculous. It's stupid. I'm not answering any more questions.
You want to get your hat and coat, Miss Banner? Afraid you'll have to come downtown with us.
What good's that going to do? I'll just keep on denying it. You can't make me say I did a thing like that.
You want to get your coat, please?
It's right here. All right.
Yes, ma'am. Car's right out in front.
hold it a minute, will you, Ben?
Yeah, okay.
Julio?
Yes, sir.
See you a minute?
Sure. Hello, Miss Banner.
Julio?
Favor I'd like to ask of you, Julio. You got a couple of minutes to spare?
Yeah, you want something?
We want to take a look in the backyard of the house down the street. Mr. Dillon's house. I'd like to have you come along with us, Julio. Won't take very long.
Sure, okay, I'll come along.
And bring a shovel along, will you, Julio? I'd like to check something.
Yeah, okay, I bring one.
Fine.
All right, Miss Banner.
What's this about? What are you trying to do?
Something we want to check in the Dillon's backyard. It won't take long.
What would it have to do with me? I don't have anything to do with that house. I don't even live there anymore. You realize that, don't you?
Yes, ma'am, we realize it.
I'll call my lawyer. I'll call him as soon as I get to a phone.
That's right. Julio?
Back this way, Sergeant. Through the gate.
What are you trying to do to me? You know I don't live here anymore. I don't even have anything to do with this place.
You did live here, ma'am. You lived here when Mr. Dillon disappeared, isn't that right?
What are you trying to say? You've got no business on this property. You've got no business here at all.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
What?
Did you kill Chester Dillon? Did you kill him? Miss Banner?
All right, Julio, the compost box in the greenhouse. Do you want to start digging?
In the compost box? Yeah, okay.
He was an old man. So old he was sick.
Ma'am?
He didn't want to live anymore. He didn't have any reason for living. Why shouldn't he give me the house? Why shouldn't I have his money? I was nice to him. I cooked for him. Wanted to take care of him. He just didn't want to live anymore, that's all.
All right, Julio, you can hold it up.
You want to tell us, ma'am?
He needed a woman. Anybody could tell that. He needed me. We got along fine, Chester and me. I offered to marry him, and he wouldn't do it. All he could do was think about his wife. She was dead. He'd sit around and talk about her all the time.
You killed him. Is that what you're trying to say?
I wanted to marry Chester and take care of him. He wouldn't do it. We had an argument in the kitchen one night. I had a gun, and I killed him. I killed him.
Is that where you buried him? In the greenhouse?
Yes, I buried him deep. The gun, too. He'll be all right. Poor Chester.
Yeah.
He was so old. He needed a woman. Anyone will tell you that. He needed me.
Well, I guess you made a mistake.
No, Sergeant, he did.
Yeah?
He didn't want me.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 2nd, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 86, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, during the past couple of years, we've had many talks with law enforcement agencies and received hundreds of letters from police officers all over the country. We're especially pleased to know that so many of these men feel as we do that Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. As a matter of fact, our sales reports prove beyond a doubt that more and more smokers everywhere are switching to Fatima. When you buy your first pack, you'll understand why. You'll enjoy Fatima's extra mildness, their much better flavor and aroma. Next time, look for the golden yellow package and ask for Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Lucille Marie Banner was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. She received the sentence as prescribed by law. She is now serving a life term in the state penitentiary for women, Tehachapi, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy next on NBC.
To hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to traffic investigation, hit-run felony detail. An elderly woman and her 9-year-old grandson are struck down in a pedestrian crosswalk by a speeding truck. The woman is killed instantly. Witnesses fail to get the license number. The hit-run driver escapes. Your job? Find him.
the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, December 21st. It was windy in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of traffic division, hit-and-run felony detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Calfee, Commander AID. My name's Friday. It was 10:51 p.m. when we got to the Carlton Theater, the box office.
Thank you. How many, please?
Police officers, ma'am. I'd like to talk to you for a minute, if we could.
Oh, yes, you mean about the accident?
Yes, ma'am. One of the officers in the traffic car across the street, he told us you're one of the people who saw it happen.
Yes, that's right. Terrible thing. It was an old lady and her grandson, you know.
Yes, ma'am. Would it be possible for you to get a relief for a little while? A few questions we'd like to ask you about. It won't take very long.
Well, I'll be off duty at 11. That's when the box office closes. 8 minutes to 11 now. Would you like to wait?
All right, ma'am. Fine.
Cold wind out there. Would you like to wait in here? Right around back here. I'll open the door for you.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah, it's nice and warm.
Did anybody get the license number? Do you know, officer? I mean, on that truck that ran them down?
No, not that we know of. We understand the officers in the traffic car talked to you. You didn't see the number either?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't. The whole thing happened so fast. I saw the old lady grab the little boy, pull him next to her. It was an awful thing. The truck hit them both together. It's funny the things you notice. The boy was carrying a little box of candy. I heard this terrible thud when the truck hit them. I looked and the candy was spilled all over the street. I just couldn't help it. I got sick to my stomach.
Yes, ma'am, I can understand. Now, about this truck that ran them down, do you think you'd know it if you ever saw it again?
Well, I'm not sure. I think I might, yes. It was one of those delivery trucks, you know. I think you'd call it a panel truck. It was a light tan color all over, and there was black lettering on the side.
Mm-hmm. Could you make out any of the lettering at all?
Well, I think there were 3 or 4 words painted on the side, and I know one of them was bakery. I'm sure of that.
Did you recognize what make of truck it was, ma'am? The year, the model?
It was a late model. I'm pretty sure of that. Either a Chevrolet or a Ford, I'd say. One of those regular delivery trucks like some bakeries use.
You sure about that word you saw lettered on the side? It said bakery.
Yes, I'm positive of that.
Now, anything else out of the ordinary that you might have noticed about the truck, ma'am? Anything outstanding that might have caught your eye?
No, I'm sorry, officer. That's about all I can tell you. How is the old lady? Do you know? And the little boy? Could they tell you anything?
Yes, ma'am. The woman's dead. She was killed instantly. They've taken the youngster over to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. Afraid he's in pretty bad shape, too.
Terrible shame. Poor old lady. She lives right here in the neighborhood, you know. I've seen her shopping in the market next door here Saturday afternoon. It's just tragic.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Boy's her grandson, you know. Somebody said he was down visiting her for the Christmas vacation. Seemed like a nice kid, well-behaved. She seemed so proud of him. Should be a sad Christmas for the family.
And just one more question, ma'am. When the boy and his grandmother were crossing the street, would you say the visibility was good? I mean, is there any reason why it would have been hard for a driver to see them?
No reason in the world, officer. It's a clear night. You can see how well the intersection's lighted up. All the Christmas lights strung up along here. The lights from the theater marquee. It was just as well lighted then as it is now.
Yeah, let's see.
The intersection was perfectly clear. No other cars around. The boy had a white sweater on. The old lady was wearing a light-colored coat. Certainly easy to see the traffic light, too. It said stop. I can't understand why that driver didn't see him.
No, ma'am, neither can we.
How could anybody do such a thing? It just isn't any excuse for it. No excuse in the world. It's downright murder.
Well, maybe that explains it.
What?
That's why he kept going. 11:35 p.m. Ben and I finished interviewing the cashier in the theater box office, and then we called the office and had them get out a supplementary broadcast and an APB on the description of the hit-and-run vehicle. We went back across the street to the scene of the accident where the officers in the T-car, along with the crew from the crime lab, were finishing up their preliminary investigation. We interviewed 2 more witnesses to the hit-run accident, but they were unable to tell us anything that we didn't already know. When we got back to the office, we put in a call to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, where they told us the 9-year-old boy struck down by the hit-run driver was still in a critical condition. The husband of the 64-year-old woman, who had been killed instantly, was brought downtown to the morgue where he identified the body. The next morning, we got out a special bulletin to all garages, auto repair, and paint shops throughout the city to be on the lookout for a late-model tan panel truck, black lettering on the sides, with damage to the front end. 8:30 a.m. I checked with communications, and then I went back to the office.
Hi. Just checked with Georgia Street, Joe. Asked him about the boy.
The old lady's grandson, how's he doing?
About the same. Critical condition. That's about all they'll say.
That's a lousy shame.
Communications get any kickback on the point yet?
No, nothing at all. Did you get in touch with the crime lab?
Yeah, they're not going to be able to help much.
What did they find out there? Anything at all?
Just what we saw. 2 small pieces of glass, probably from one of the headlights on a truck. I don't think they're going to be able to do much with him. There's not enough there to go on. That's the only physical evidence they got, huh? That's so. Might be able to tie it down a little tighter if we could find that panel. Yeah. You start checking on that bakery truck angle yet? McGowan and I called every bakery in town, got it pretty well narrowed down. There's only 2 companies that use tan late model panels for delivery trucks. Well, only one of them uses black lettering on the sides of the truck. Other company says they use red lettering. Which one has the black? I got it right here. Outfit called Nielsen's Wholesale Bakery. They got a fleet of 173 trucks, all the same, tan color, black lettering on both sides, late model Ford delivery truck. Mm-hmm. They tell you whether or not any of their drivers could have been making deliveries that time of night, 10:30, 11 o'clock? Yeah, there were about a dozen of them out on deliveries. More of them to account for than that, though. What do you mean? All their drivers are allowed to take the trucks home with them when they are off duty if they want to. Yeah. I'm afraid it's going to mean checking out every one of them, Joe. Well, we might as well get moving on it. They're going to give us some kind of a list to work with, are they? Yeah, I've got it all set up with them. Yeah? Accident investigation, Romero. Oh, yes, sir. That's all. I see. You're right, thank you. Rotten deal. Yeah, what's the matter? That young kid, the grandson? Yeah. He just died. Many times and on many different occasions, the police officer has it proved to him that there can be very little difference between a crime of neglect and a crime that's been willfully premeditated. If you look at it closely enough, you can judge it for yourself. How much difference, for example, as far as moral guilt is concerned, is there between the following? Number 1, a man who plans a killing, takes up a gun, finds his victim, and shoots him to death. Or number 2, the man who thinks he has to look out for no one's welfare but his own, gets behind the wheel of a car, disregards the ordinary rules of safety, and proceeds to commit homicide with a motor vehicle. Oftentimes, the crime masquerades under the guise of an accident. Morally, no matter how you spell it, it adds up to murder just as surely as if the person had taken a gun and shot the victim down. The way it looked to us, the hit-and-run killing of the elderly woman and her grandson was a prime example. Wednesday, December 22nd, Ben and I began checking out the delivery trucks owned by Nielsen's Wholesale Bakery. Late that afternoon, we located one of the trucks with recent damage to the front end. We checked and found the driver's name was Arthur V. Singer. We drove out to his home to interview him.
No, I wasn't working last night, officer. I was off. What's it all about?
Did you spend the night at home, Mr. Singer, or were you out?
I was home part of the time. After dinner, I went downtown to a little bowling. Our neighborhood team bowls every Tuesday night.
Where's that, sir?
Place downtown. It's on West 7th. Got a pretty good team.
Mm-hmm. Did you drive down, Mr. Singer, or did you take the bus?
No, I drove down. Had the company truck with me. Let us use them when we're off duty. We pay for gas.
Did you drive down by yourself, or was there someone else with you?
No, I was alone. The other boys had their cars.
When did you leave the bowling alley, remember?
About 10:15, I'd say.
How'd you drive home, Mr. Singer? I mean, what route did you take?
Oh, I drove straight out West 7th, got the Coronado, came over Coronado to the house here. Why do you want to know?
What time did you get home?
About 11:15. This wouldn't be about that little scrape I had last night, would it?
What was that?
Down at 7th and Grandview, right by Westlake Park there. Old guy in the car ahead, he stopped fast right in front of me. Didn't even signal.
Is that right?
Yeah, I almost plowed right into him. Lucky I was watching. I slammed on the brakes, turned in toward the curb. Should have seen it. I clipped the headlight and the right fender against a telephone pole. Had to take the truck in this morning to get it fixed up.
Are there any witnesses to this accident that you had, Singer?
Yeah, a half dozen people saw it.
Did you get any names and addresses?
Well, no, I didn't. I was so teed off about the whole thing, I guess I didn't think about it.
Is there anyone at all we can check with? Anybody corroborate your story?
Just the old guy in that car. Sure a lousy driver. I really chewed him out.
Did you get his name and address?
No, but I took down his license number. Wasn't going to pay for that damage. He admitted it was his fault.
I see. Do you mind giving us that license number?
No, if I can find it. Wrote it down on the back of an old envelope. Thought I put it in my jacket, but when I looked this morning, it wasn't there. It's around someplace. I'll check around again before I leave for work. It's bound to turn up.
I'd like to have you look for it now, Mr. Singer, if you would. It's pretty important.
Well, I think I get it, officer. What's this all about, anyway?
Preliminary investigation. Want to see if you can find that number for us?
Well, why? What's it have to do with an investigation? I didn't do anything. That old man was his fault.
Well, a bakery truck was involved in a serious accident last night, the same kind you were driving. Afraid you're going to need some kind of an alibi, Mr. Singer.
Alibi? I don't know what you mean. Why'd I have to have an alibi?
Well, just take my word for it. You're going to need one.
Well, why do I need one?
2 reasons.
Yeah?
A 9-year-old boy and his grandmother. We continued questioning the suspect, Arthur Singer, but he denied any knowledge of the hit-run accident the night before at the intersection of Drexel and Pico Boulevard. We stayed with him while he searched his home for the license number of the car, which he said caused him to have his accident the night before. After half an hour of looking, he came up with a number scribbled on a scrap of paper which he'd found back in one corner on the floor of his closet.
We put in a call to RDMV, and they came back with the information that the license number was registered to a Mr. Thomas Foley on Lancashire Boulevard. We drove out to the address to check with Mr. Foley, but there was nobody home. We left our card along with a message to contact us as soon as possible. 4:15 p.m. Ben and I got back to the office. At 4:35, Mr. Foley returned our call.
Yes, sir, that's right. Oh, you did, huh? I see. Well, what time was that? Do you remember? Oh. Well, all right, Mr. Foley. Thank you very much. We may be contacting you later. Right, bye.
What'd you get?
Thought this was starting out too easy.
Why, what'd he say?
Apparently, this Arthur Singer's telling us the truth. Mr. Foley says he did have a little scrape with a bakery truck last night. Described Singer as the driver of the truck.
Well, what about the location? Is Foley pretty sure about that?
Grandview and West 7. Said it happened about 10:35 last night. That puts Singer about 3 miles from the scene of the hit run. It's impossible, Joe.
Yeah.
This Mr. Foley's right. Singer couldn't have done it. Wasn't anywhere near the scene.
I sure thought he was there, didn't you?
We can drive out and double check with Foley. Can't think of any reason why he'd lie about it, can you?
I guess I'll get it. Accident investigation Friday. Yeah, I said. Where? Yeah. Nobody, huh? Yeah, right away, thanks. It's moving a little fast. Got a piece of luck here.
Who was it?
Ted Zimmerman. He and McClendon are down the south end of town.
Yeah?
The hit and run truck. They think maybe they found it. 4:28 p.m. Ben and I left the office and drove to the south end of the city where we met with Sergeants Zimmerman and McClendon, a block from where the tan panel bakery truck had been located. As soon as the truck had been discovered, an immediate stakeout was placed on it. A code 5 was broadcast on the vehicle's location, warning all units to stay away so as not to discourage the suspect in case he decided it was safe to return and get the truck. Ben and I drove down the side street where the truck was parked and got a good look at the front end of it. The right headlight was damaged, and so was the right fender. While Zimmerman and McClendon remained on stakeout, Ben and I contacted the Nielsen Bakery people again, gave them the number of the truck, and they traced down the driver's name for us. He was listed as Daniel Miller. He'd been employed by the bakery for the past 3 years, and he had a good record. They told us this was his day off. 5:30 p.m. We checked at his home address, but his wife told us he wasn't there. She said that besides driving a truck for the bakery, he also had a part-time job at night. He worked as a counterman at a small coffee shop out on Wilshire Boulevard. We drove out to the coffee shop and interviewed him on the job.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know where the truck is. I wish I did.
What happened, Mr. Miller? Was it stolen?
No, not exactly. A fellow that comes in here quite a bit, his name's Paul. Good customer. He borrowed the truck from me last night. Said he'd only be gone an hour. I haven't seen him since.
Where does this man live, this friend of yours, Paul?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know. Good customer. He comes in quite a bit at night when I'm working. Gotten to know him pretty well. He asked to borrow the truck for an hour. Didn't think much about it. Let him have it. Is there anything wrong?
What's this Paul's last name, do you know?
No, I guess I don't. Never thought to ask him, as a matter of fact. Guess they never had any reason to.
About what time was it last night that you loaned him the truck?
A little after 8 o'clock, I think it was. He said he wanted to take his television set over to a guy he knew and get it fixed. He told me he'd be back by 10 o'clock at the latest.
You don't know where this man lives? You have no idea at all how to get in touch with him?
No, I guess I don't, Sergeant. Why?
You're in the habit of lending the truck to strangers?
No, not usually. Well, what's your beef, anyway? What's this all about?
What are your hours here at the coffee shop, Miller? When do you check in for work and when do you leave?
I check in at 7 o'clock. I go a straight 5 hours to midnight. That's when we close up, midnight.
Well, you worked that shift last night, did you? 7 p.m. straight through to midnight?
That's right. Monday through Saturday. 6 days a week. That's the schedule. It's just a part-time job for me, extra dough, you know. My regular job is driving the truck for the bakery.
Was anyone around last night when your friend Paul came in to borrow the truck? Maybe another customer, a waitress, somebody we could double-check with?
No, there were a couple other customers in the place. Don't know who they were, though. Why do you have to double-check anyway? I haven't done anything. I loaned Paul a truck, that's all.
Well, have you any way at all of proving you were here from 7 to 12 last night? Must have been some customers you waited on that you remember.
Sure, there are. At least half dozen of them. They'll tell you I was here.
I'd like to have their names and addresses if you don't mind, Miller.
Yeah. Excuse me a minute, huh? Got a customer to wait on.
Sure, right in.
Hi, Dan. I missed you last night.
Hi, Fred. What do you have?
Coffee, a couple of those donuts back there, powdered sugar ones.
Okay.
Yeah, me and the missus dropped in for a sandwich after the show last night. We're looking for you.
That's so?
Yeah, about 10:30. Where were you, Dan?
(7:15 p.m., Wednesday, December 22nd. We continued questioning the hit-run suspect, Daniel Miller, for a full hour, but he seemed to be unable to account for his time the previous night.
His first story was that he'd been on duty behind the counter in the coffee shop without a break between the hours of 7 p.m. and midnight. Then, after the customer entered and disclosed that he was in the coffee shop at 10:30 the night before and that Miller was nowhere about, the suspect switched his story. He said he thought he left the coffee shop briefly for about 15 minutes between 10:30 and 10:45 p.m. to run down the street to a hotel to say goodbye to some friends of his who were leaving for New York. We checked at the hotel, but they didn't know Miller, and they hadn't seen him the night before. They were sure of it. We returned to the coffee shop and took up the questioning of the suspect all over again, but he made little or no sense at all. Apparently, he was piling up lie after lie in an effort to cover his tracks before and after the hit-and-run murder the night before. 7:48 p.m. Ben and I pulled Miller off the job at the coffee shop and took him downtown to the interrogation room.
I'm telling you, it's the truth. I wasn't in that truck last night. I wasn't in an accident. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, then give us something to go on, Miller. You've handed us 3 different stories so far. Not one of them strong enough to hold water.
I'm telling you the truth. What are you trying to hang this on me for? I didn't have a wreck and I didn't kill anybody. Why are you picking on me?
Because you don't make sense, mister. You're trying to sell us a story and you haven't got 1 ounce of proof to back it up. That bakery truck you're responsible for is the same truck that killed the old woman and the little boy. Now, you come up with a solid story that we can check on, or you're going to be resting your back in the main jail.
No wonder they call you cops dumb. I wasn't in that truck last night. Can't you get that through your heads? I wasn't in the truck. I didn't have an accident.
Then prove it to us, Mr. Miller. That's all we're waiting for.
Listen, call Bill Calder. He's a good customer. He was in last night, I think. He'll tell you. Go ahead and call him. He'll back up what I say.
What's his number, do you know?
Yeah, I got it. Here, right here in my wallet. Yeah, Bill can tell you. Yeah, here it is.
Thank you. Hello, William Calder there, please? Yes, ma'am, it's important. All right, will you have him call Michigan 5211? Yeah, 5211. That's extension 2512. Right, thank you very much. Well, he's busy. He'll call back in a minute.
He'll tell you the truth. I was in the coffee shop all night. Just those couple of minutes I ran down to the hotel to say goodbye to those friends of mine. That's the only time I left the place.
Well, how come you couldn't tell us that to begin with, Miller? You say you've got nothing to hide? Well, why do you have to hand us 3 different stories? Which one are we supposed to believe?
I got nervous, that's all, when you first come in and started to ask questions. I didn't know what it was all about. I didn't know there was any trouble. I just loaned the truck to this guy, Paul, as a favor. How'd I know what he was going to do, getting himself in a jam like that?
All right, now try to look at it from where we stand, Miller. You loan out your truck to a man. You don't know his last name. You don't know where he lives. You say he must have been driving the truck when the lady and the boy were killed.
Sure, he must have been driving it. I wasn't. I was back at the coffee shop. I was there until midnight.
All right, then prove it to us. If you know the man well enough to loan him the truck, you ought to be able to find him.
Now, they must be Bill Calder. He'll tell you. Go ahead. See what he says.
Interrogation room, Friday. Oh, yeah, Mr. Calder. Well, my name's Sergeant Friday, LAPD, Accident Investigation. Friday, yes, sir, that's right. Wonder if you'd tell me if you know a Daniel Miller? Mm-hmm. When's the last time you saw him? Do you remember? I see. The place where he works, the coffee shop? Were you in there last night by any chance? Did you see Miller in there? You're sure? Yes, sir. No, sir, that's all for now. Thank you very much. We're going to contact you later on. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, how about it? He told you, didn't he? That enough for you?
He says he hasn't been in the coffee shop for 3 days. 9:45 p.m. Our interrogation of the hit-and-run suspect, Daniel Miller, went on. At his suggestion, we called half a dozen people who he figured might substantiate his alibi, but none of them were able to. Miller continued to deny any knowledge of the hit-run killing, but he still couldn't account for his whereabouts at the exact hour the 9-year-old boy and his grandmother were run down. The time element especially didn't work in his favor. Nothing worked in his favor. 11:30 p.m., Ben and I took Daniel Miller over to the main jail where he was booked in on suspicion of 480 V.C. The following afternoon, his lawyer obtained a writ, and he was released from custody. The writ was returnable in 5 days. He came immediately to the office to plead with Ben and I to help him find Paul, the man who'd borrowed his truck and thus clear himself. We took him up on it. Either way, we figured we'd get to the bottom of it. If Miller dreamed up the character Paul to escape blame for the hit-and-run killing, we were bound to find out sooner or later. If Miller was telling the truth, we had little reason to believe he was, and a man named Paul had borrowed the truck the night of the hit-and-run killing, we were bound to find that out, too. In any event, we had to investigate. It's the job of the police officer to prove guilt or innocence, not guilt alone. 2 days passed, and then another 2. The Monday following the Christmas weekend, we were ready to call a halt.
I don't know what else we can do. I think we've given enough time, don't you?
Well, the deeper we get into it, the more it looks like Miller's our man. I still can't make up my mind.
Why do you have to be stubborn about it? We've checked every possible angle on this story. We still haven't an ounce of proof that this guy Paul he talks about even exists. We can't string along with Miller forever.
I suppose you're right. We've given him a square enough break on it. I still got that funny hunch. It's possible he might be telling the truth.
We've gone 4 straight days on it, Joe. Haven't come across one lead to back up his story. It's too much for me. I can't bite anymore.
Go ahead.
Sergeant?
Oh, how are you, Miller?
I'm okay. Glad to see you. I've been looking for you.
We've been looking for your friend, Miller. Still haven't found a trace of him.
That's why I came down to see you. A friend of mine called me this morning. He knows this guy, Paul, I told you about. He says he saw him last night, going into a hotel down on South Flower.
How come we haven't heard from this friend of yours before? We've checked through twice on the list of everybody you know.
This fella's been out of town, just got back yesterday. When he heard about the jam I was in, he called me about St. Paul.
This hotel Paul was supposed to have been seen going into. Have you got the address of that?
Yeah, it's over on South Flower, right near 12th. You want to go over there with me right now? This friend of mine wouldn't kid me. Paul must be there.
You're sure about that?
He must be there. I'll bet a month's pay on it.
You might be low, mister.
What?
Stands to cost you a lot more than that.
We went up to the 3rd floor, room 318, but the man registered as Paul Barton wasn't in. He'd left no word at the desk as to when he'd return. We sent Miller home and told him to wait for our call. Ben and I went on stakeout at the hotel. At 7:25 that night, Paul Barton returned to his room and we began questioning him. He showed no signs of being upset. His answers were quick, straightforward, and they seemed to make sense. The interview went on. A half hour, an hour, and Barton began to grow a little nervous. He contradicted himself. Big holes began to show up in his story as to how and where he'd spent his time the night of the hit-run killing. 8:45 p.m. Ben and I took Barton back to the office. We found Zimmerman in the squad room and had him phone Miller at his home and ask him to come downtown as soon as possible. Meantime, we checked Paul Barton through R&I, and then we took him to the interrogation room where the questioning went on.
You're a little mixed up about that, aren't you, Mr. Barton? I thought you said you went to that bar downtown about 10 p.m. and then you went to visit at your sister's house. Now you tell us you went to your sister's house first and then you went to the bar downtown. Now, which is it?
Well, that's getting a little high-handed, isn't it? Why do I have to account for my time to you?
If it wasn't important, we wouldn't be asking you. I think you know that.
Well, I don't know anything of the kind. You're trying to take advantage of me. That's the only impression I can get. I think I've answered enough of your questions. I'm going back to the hotel.
Just a minute, Barton. There's one more thing.
Yeah?
Last time you were arrested for a traffic violation, you want to tell us what the charge was?
What?
I think you heard me.
Well, that was a year ago. I was driving a little too fast going out Beverly Boulevard. And what's that got to do with it?
Our record bureau says the charge was for drunk driving. Your license was revoked, isn't that right?
Well, so what? I haven't been driving. I haven't been near a car.
What about last Tuesday night?
Huh?
Last Tuesday night, you do any driving then?
No, of course not.
Sure about that?
You're not trapping me. I answered all your questions. I'm getting
you're
out
going
of
to stay right where you are, mister. Stay put. Ben, you want to check next door, see if Miller's come in?
Yeah, okay.
You can't make me stay here. It's illegal. You got nothing to hold me on.
All right, then there's nothing to worry about. This won't take very long. We got a man by the name of Miller coming in. He says he thinks he knows you.
Miller? I don't know any Miller.
Nice going, Paul. Where you been? I said, where you been? What'd you do with the truck?
Yeah? Grab him, Ben. Grab him.
Okay, all right. Now, let me go.
Settle down. Come on, mister. Settle down.
I didn't do a thing. Well, look, you can't prove it. You can't prove I did.
They're going to prove it, Paul. I'm going to help them prove it. You sure been a real good friend.
Look, give me a break, Dan. I didn't mean it. Honest, I didn't mean it.
I loan you the truck. You get boozed up. You run down a little kid and a grandmother. Then you take off and leave me holding the sack, like I did it.
Well, I didn't mean it, Danny. It was an accident. I wasn't boozed up.
Yeah, you're a real good friend. I hope you get it in the neck. I hope you get it with both barrels.
Look, Sergeant, it's not true. I wasn't boozed up. I only had 2 drinks. Now, believe me, that's all I had.
Yeah.
I couldn't have been drunk. It doesn't affect me that way. 2 drinks never hurt me. A couple of drinks never hurt anybody.
They killed a little boy and his grandmother.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On February 28th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. Paul Barton was filed on for violation of the State Vehicle Code, Section 480, a hit-and-run felony, and also for manslaughter, 2 counts. He was convicted only for Section 480 and received sentence as prescribed by law. A hit-and-run felony is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for not less than 1 nor more than 5 years. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.